driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, hope everyone's good. I've just managed to sit down inside after doing a lot of bloody running around outside to go pick shopping up and everything. Oh, God, you look at this, it don't even look warm. You get back indoors and you're sweating off by the time you sit in front of the bloody laptop to sort this out. Right, again, hope everyone's having a good day. That was a fucking epic result against Man City as far as I'm concerned. We needed that big time. I know a lot of people are going to say, me being one of them, it wasn't exactly their first team. We know that, yeah? We had about, 3 players out. You could say they had some significant players out of the team, yeah? But you want to add their team up together, the people they had on that pitch at one time or the people that played in that game, I can name about maybe 5, 6 that would walk into our first team all day long. Call it opinion, but that is my opinion. Because like people know, and I think a few others, I still don't think we have exactly the best 11 out there. Definitely not the worst, but there's a few places you could improve. And at the end of the day, we got a 2-1 result against an unbeaten team in England, the only team in England that has not been beaten, whether it was in the cup, whatever. We got the fucking result. At the end of it, that's all that matters, really, the result. You can say how good you played, you can say how bad you played. I'm always one to pick out, okay, we've done this right, but I'll focus on the negative points as well because they do need fixing. But at the end of the day, a result's a result, especially in a cup. Now, for me, obviously, a cup is very different to the league. I don't give a toss how we played in the cup as long as we went through to the next round. Yeah, I will sit here and say there's a lot of things we could have improved. We can improve, but we're into the quarterfinals of the League Cup. Now, again, some say it's a small cup. Some say they don't care about cups. Some say it's all about winning the league and the Champions League even. When I hear people say that, I honestly do think, what fucking planet are you on? Yeah, the fact that we're Tottenham Hotspur and we should be bigger, we should be better and everything else, we all know this crap, yeah? The fact that Daniel Levy has totally cooked us as a football club, but made us an excellent business, we all know that. We have not won a cup in, what is it? Someone tell me if I've got the number right, but what, 16 years? 15 years, 16 years, and maybe two cups in 30 years. And anyone, as far as I'm concerned, as a Spurs supporter, that will sit here and say the League Cup is not good enough, mate, wake the fuck up. Now, I'm going to step back on myself with a couple of things. Probably contradict myself. I suppose being Spurs supporters, we're all bloody good at that, aren't we? A lot of us are anyway. I'm not a big fan of Ange, and everyone knows it. I don't like his overall technique. I don't like his inconsistency with one game. He looks like he gets it right with the subs, and another game he just looks like he hasn't got a clue what he's doing, or he just looks like he doesn't give a shit, basically. And there's times where you have to adapt in games. And this is where, for me, Ange just does not prove himself. People are saying he adapted to this game. Did he adapt to this game? Did he really adapt to this game? Or was it that City was just giving us so much pressure that you had no option but to strike back, to sit back and defend, sorry. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we won the game. We muscled it out at the back, which usually we were completely folded after their first goal went in. And we still stood our ground and we held it. And I think some players of ours actually had some very good games. There was obviously ones on there that I thought was actually had a very poor game considering how important it was. But I think there was actually some who had some very good games on there as well. So, again, I am happy with that 2-1 win. And I will go through a few things on there. First thing I will mention, I'll say hello to a couple of people first, and then I will go through the bit of news that's come out. Some have probably have heard it, but either way, we'll go to it when it comes on to it. And Daryl, to be a god, a chairman who puts football first. Yeah, but one of the points I will make, mate, to be a god at Tottenham Hotspur, is all you have to do is a manager and win a cup. That's all you got to do. Nothing more, nothing less. Not saying winning the cup's easy, but we all want to do well in the league. But if he ends up finishing 12th in the league, a few of us, quite well, most of us, all of us, I would say, are going to be pretty pissed off. But if he ends up winning the League Cup with that, or the FA Cup, or the Europa, but the League Cup, the smallest cup out there, I'll be one of the fans who say, do you know what, mate? Fair play. Might as well have a statue of you out the front, because no one else has bloody done it for such a long time. And yeah, go on. Let's see what you can do next season. Do I think Ange's good enough over 38 games? I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got what we need for a so-called big club to get where we need to. But I've said from after a few months in, do I think he's got the capability of winning a cup with us? Yeah, I do. Reasons for that being, it's just because one game we can look bloody good, another game we can look piss poor. But I think we all know that a cup usually has a bit of luck in it as well. And that's not something we are at Spurs either. We're not exactly the luckiest bastards out there at times either. But you can actually get to a final just by luck. I mean, England in the Euros, don't that say it all? England in the Euros. I mean, seriously, anybody who wants to say we got through to those finals with skill, for me, we got through to those finals with nothing but pure luck. And Jimmy Hotspur, big up Dan and the chat. Happy November. Yes, it is, mate. 1st November. Happy day to you as well, mate. Hope all's good for you. Robbie, Lily White Lane. Everyone, make sure you link up to him and add on to him. Make some very good points on his shows, as always. Always has something level-headed to say, I would say, and says it in a nice way, unlike most of us. So, top fella, Robbie, got plenty of time for you. Afternoon, Dan, hope you're well, mate. Yeah, now I'm back indoors and sitting down, and the sweating's calmed down after running about outside for 45 minutes before I come on here. I'm all right. And Bertie Hotspur, how you doing, mate? Hope all's good. Big up, everyone. Smash and subscribe, and please explain the narrative of your header. I think I just did, really, mate. To be a god at Tottenham now, as all you got to do is win the trophy, even if it is the smallest one. As all you got to do is win a cup, and Ange will literally be a god, unless we go and get another manager who starts winning cup after cup and then wins the league. But we will still look back at Ange and say that is where it started. Do I see it going like that? No, I don't. But to be a god at Spurs, literally, mate, is all you got to do is win the League Cup. And that is pretty much that. And Lee, big up Dan, big up to you too, mate. And Mark, afternoon Dan, afternoon to you too, fella. Hope all's good. And Tom, big up Dan and everyone in the chat. Hope we are all well. Big up to you, mate. Wayne, good afternoon, boss. Good afternoon, fella. And Scott M. City had 5 players who haven't played a minute in the Premier League this year. And when down at the subs, they never put on the gas and played the Premier League, but it was a strong side, mate. It was stronger than our side. There were, like I said, there were still 5 players that are just walk into our team easy. Totally get what you're saying. Did City want that game? I think they did. I mean, if you look at the way they played us, they was over 70% possession, and they was on us. They wanted a goal. The players wanted it. Did Pep look so bothered? No, he didn't. He was all laughs and giggles at the back, but I very much doubt he'd have been upset if he'd have won the game. But the one thing you can say with City is they do have bigger fish to fry. And they have the right to say that. Unlike when Arsenal tried that and then just totally mugged themselves off in the process. But Pep does have that right to actually say we actually have got bigger fish to fry. But at the end of the day, mate, it was Man City with a team, not their best team, but a team that could still have quite easily beat ours. And either way, 2-1 Spurs, I'm a happy man. And Jimmy Hotspur, the game is always about glory. I agree with that these days, mate. Do you know what? I used to be one of those people. Give me what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'd be one who sat there in a pub and debate with my mates when they'd talk about it, being Liverpool supporters, well, one of them anyway, Arsenal supporters, a couple of Chelsea pricks I know, and yeah, obviously a couple of Arsenal, sadly, but we all know a few of them. And they would always talk about the cups, things like this, before the games, we'd be talking about it and everything. I'd just turn around and say, I don't give a fuck about the FA Cup. I don't care about the League Cup. Especially the League Cup, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. Who cares? Like I said earlier, at Tottenham, I don't feel we have that privilege, if you want to call it, or that right to even look at the League Cup and say, it's a minor, it's a Mickey Mouse, it don't mean nothing. Well, what have we won in the past 16 years? Absolutely nothing. I've been one of the most embarrassing clubs in football for a club of our size to be able to achieve 16 years and no trophy of any sort. So, either way, we get through to that, mate, and we actually see some glory at Spurs. Not just come second in the league. I say just very lightly. Or get to a final and still got nothing to show for it. Let's just see some glory at Spurs, even if it's just tuppence money. Let's just see something at Spurs. And like I said, I think if he ends up finishing 12th, yeah, I'm going to be giving him stick through the season. But if he even just wins that League Cup, I say fair play, man. Fair play. You have achieved what no others could achieve in a very long time. 2 of the best managers on the planet, or well, was, and one of the greatest managers ever, as far as I'm concerned, with Mourinho, if not the best manager ever. Call that opinion. Okay, he got the sack before the final, but on paperwork, he still didn't do it. And so, Mark Cook, we are on for a quad at least, Dan. If only dreams could come true. But you can say we're still in all the cups. But yeah, we all know that's just not going to happen. But either way, mate, on the paperwork, it says we are. And Scott M, hope you're good, mate. Foden as striker, and Pep was supposedly taking it serious. Again, I'll make you right. It weren't their most serious team. But with only 17 shots on goal and the possession they had, and they did put effort into the game, especially after scoring that first goal. The players, at least, they wanted to win it. But no, as well, they also, I agree with what you're saying. They do have the right to turn around and say, bigger fish to fry. But then Foden up front. Who would you rather have up front then, Scott? Just as a question for you then, mate. Who would you rather have like up front? Would you rather have Solanke, Richarlison, or Foden? Now, the reason I don't mention Son is because we all know Son can score a goal up front from anywhere. He's double-footed. He's a world-class goal scorer, basically. And he still is. He's double-footed. He's got the lot. So apart from Son, out of the ones I just mentioned, or pretty much anyone else we could even put up front, wouldn't you have Foden instead of all of them? I personally would. And Edwinson, that's all I'm going to call you, mate. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that first bit. Where's Tommy these days? Tommy had enough of Spurs. He's got enough going on in his life. A lot of good stuff, by the way. I'll leave him to pop on and say that stuff when he chooses to, because he's going to pop on sooner or later. He just had enough of it, mate. He just had enough of things. And where me and him were just doing he invited me to join up a channel with him and that. He had enough and just, he was going to cut it and just said to me, do you want to take it over? So I said, yeah, fine. I'll have that. And yeah, he's just getting on with his life, mate. I just think he's had enough of just being on Spurs week after week after week after month after year, basically repeating yourself over and over again. Because sadly, that's what we do at Spurs. And that's not our fault. It's just give us some better stuff to talk about, and we will. And Edwinson also saying, come on, you Spurs. Yep, mate, definitely. Bertie Hotspur, the good business narrative doesn't exist, i.e. seeking investment. We do seek investment, mate, just in the wrong place. We do it in the bloody hotels and that, for God's sake. We don't do it in the team. That's for sure. I agree with you there. Mike, how you doing, mate? If you want to jump on, just send me a message, mate. No problem. I'll send you a link. He still fielded a team that was 3 times good as ours. Mate, that is my point I am making. That is where I'm going with you. I mean, I'll go through it. I know others are still going to keep saying it weren't their best team and everything. But for me, he still put on there a team that could have quite easily cooked us on a different day. On a different day, they would have had us there, as far as I'm concerned. So I agree with you on that one, mate. Totally agree with you. And Scott M. Mike, he fielded a joke team with zero care about winning. He came out and said he didn't want to win this cup. No, he didn't say he didn't want to win it. He just basically came out and said it's not his priority. And that was not a joke team he put out there. Now, again, with most of that team he put out there, wouldn't you rather have more than half to 3/4 of that team in your first 11? They were more than capable of beating us. But again, I'll go with you, Scott. It was not their best team they put out there. And Scott M. Flucking joke about a cup win because others don't care isn't impressive, isn't worthy of praise. Mate, again, I'll put it to you. It's sad that we are in this position. It's sad. It's wrong. But we are in this position. We are in this position where we need something. Just a League Cup. Something. Yeah, we can blame whoever we want for it. Levy, managers we've had, players we've had. Blame the whole fucking world. But we are not in a position, mate, where we can turn down a League Cup. And Edwardson saying to Mike from Poland, Haaland, Akanji were laughing and joking at each other on the sidelines, and Pep was all smiles at the end of the game. I know, I agree, mate. It's true. But again, I still say there was a lot of that team that could have quite easily done us. And Scott saying, I'm not saying he cared. I know he didn't from the team, but the team was still better than most half of our donkeys. You're right, mate. And Dan List, big up Dan and everyone on the chat. Big up to you, mate. And do go onto Dan List's show and subscribe to there. As far as I know, he's getting over 300 now when I last looked. And he's built himself up. Always got something to say. Quite level-headed fella from what I see. And definitely give you some good points as well. Mate, if you want to pop on as well, I'm willing to have another 3 on here. Do send me a message and I'll send you a link. I've got a guest coming on in a minute. Just going to go through the rest here quickly. And Bertie Hotspur, we lack the quality needed to win shit at this club. All down to Daniel the Scrooge Levy. Cash out Levy. I agree, mate. But like I said, a cup, a bit of luck, can win you a cup. And Scott M, thumbs up to Michael. And Jimmy, what are you saying here, mate? The squad's only chance of winning the trophy is in a cup competition. It's we're not going to win a bloody league, are we? That's for sure. And Edwardson saying, I'm not sure that's enough to be called a god at Tottenham, winning the League Cup. Ramos is largely forgotten about, and he was our last cup-winning manager. I get what you mean, mate. Call it more of a figure of speech, call it more of a bit of sarcasm, if you will. But literally, the way we are, he goes and wins that cup, people will call him a god for a good couple of years unless we go significantly to take it further from there. So call it a bit of sarcasm with it as well, mate. That's the actual joke of it. To be a god at Spurs, you win a League Cup. Sad, isn't it? And Dan's saying, Pep did Ange a favour the other night. Do you know what? I heard this and actually thought about that myself. And did Ange a favour the other night. Great for us. The players he put on were shit, and we move on to Man U. The Cup's or nothing for me. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, mate. Right, bringing first guest I've got here. Ian, how we doing, mate? Everything good?
Good yourself. Good afternoon.
Busy morning, a lot of bloody running about and everything to do, and that managed to get in here just on time. And now I've stopped sweating. I'm happy. So, with that game against City, go on, mate. I'm listening.
What did I think?
As a whole.
As a
whole, your opinion, the players. We'll go through player by player in a minute on a few of them. As a game in a whole, basically, what is your opinion on that game?
Thought it was a good win. You know, I was just listening to you talking about the City players. They've got 8 injuries now. I think they lost 2 more on Wednesday. There was no way with that amount of injuries and big games coming up for City. You know, they got Bournemouth away. I think they got Brighton away. They got Sporting Lisbon away. Now they're 3 difficult games for City. Mm-hmm. Why is he going to risk Haaland? He's got 8 out already. You know, I mean, if you look at the players that played on Wednesday night, you sort of go through them as first team players. He started with Ake, Ruben Diaz, Stones, Rico Lewis, Gundogan, Nunes, Savinho and Foden. So I think that's 8 that you would call proper first team players. And on the bench, he brought on Bernardo Silva, Kovacic and Vardiel. He had 6 missing as well. There's 17. Haaland didn't get on. Ederson didn't get on. There's 19. I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 more. They've got such a strong squad. So he didn't treat it lightly. You know, he had a strong enough squad. And you see the way they play and the way they train. You know, that was a good City side. You know, they had about 60. I think they had 69% possession.
I think it was more than that, mate. It was in the 70s from what I saw. I think it was actually more. I mean, either way, give or take a percentage.
That's where we are. 68.4%.
Okay, fair enough.
They had 35 touches in our box to our 18. Mm-hmm. Yet their keeper made 5 saves to Vicario's 1. So
it's only had like 3 shots on target, wasn't it?
That's all they had the whole game. I think for the first time ever since Ange joined the club, he actually set them up maturely like a proper football team. You know, they played a lower block, so the defenders. Okay, apart from obviously there were some long balls that they played. Mickey had to slide in, and he got injured sliding in. But I think I saw a video of him holding his hamstring as he was walking out the tunnel before the game. So it was probably a niggle there beforehand. But he didn't have Spence to come in either. So he was short at left back, and obviously didn't trust Ben Davies to start. But they played. They were far better. They played like a proper football team. They played on the break, and at the end of the day, they won the game. You know, they toughed it out in the second half. I'm sure when everybody saw City concede just before half time, everyone's going, "Oh God, here we go! They're going to run away with this second half."
When City scored,
they didn't, did they?
One of the ones who just thought, "Yeah, game over. Here we go, back to square one."
You know, within 5 minutes they would have equalised, and they'll take it on. You know, like Brighton did, albeit they were coming from 2 goals down.
I think we were lucky where they scored the goal, basically, because I think with them scoring that goal, there's quite a possibility if the game would have gone on for 10 minutes straight from there, they would have got that goal. But either way, they didn't, and I think they got it at a good time for us, if there is a good time for us to score a goal as such, literally on the half time mark, wasn't it?
It kept everybody on their toes. I'm sure everybody was like fired up second half. Jesus, you know, we're not cruising this. It was, you know, we're not 2 goals up. Not that we were ever, sorry, cruising is the wrong word, but they were comfortable at 2-0. And at 2-1, it's a different game. I think they played well. I think they play well. So Gundogan's not a first-team player, really? Well,
question a lot. I mean, with this one here, Scott, yeah, Foden a striker. No, he's not a striker. And he is a first-team player regular enough, I would personally say. And I've seen him play false nine enough times. And he's got the skill to put it in the back of the net better than any of ours, I'd say, if it comes to the crunch with pressure on him, than Son has. Call that an opinion. Gundogan, not a first-team player. Might not be, Scott. But as far as I'm concerned, Gundogan would walk into our team like a piece of piss.
Yeah.
Name me one of our midfield that you would not take out for Gundogan. Personally, I can't even pronounce his name properly, but personal opinions I know. But tell me one midfielder you would rather keep instead of Gundogan. Even though he's 31, 32, whatever he is and that, tell me one player that you would not get rid of for him. I mean, Ian, what do you think on that?
No, definitely. He's a cracking player, even today. Even if he's not first choice in City's midfield, he'd walk into most other Premier League teams.
I personally think he's a player who's a bit underrated, personally, because I do think he is a good player.
Yeah.
So try to over Scott, I can't agree fully with you on this one. Most of the time, I agree with a lot of things you're saying, and you are right that they didn't play their best team out there. But again, I'll go for a couple of players in a minute, and we'll see what people have to say on that one. And three-legged dog, what you're saying here? Pep pointing at his watch and talking to the timekeeper in extra time says, "I think he wants to win a game." What do you think? I don't think Pep goes out there with an interest of wanting to lose a game. A winning manager, for me, wants to win everything. I've heard Mourinho say it. I've heard Conte say it. I've also heard Pep and Klopp say it. They want to win everything that's in front of him. No, it did not mean the world to him. It wasn't the end of the world. But he would have quite happily won that and then gone on and win the cup. It's another one on the list for him. I mean, what do you reckon, Ian?
How many times has City won the League Cup in recent years?
What, 4, 5?
That's right.
And Liverpool?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Liverpool won it a few times on the spin as well before that, didn't they? So
a good manager wants to win everything, don't they?
It's of course, and you know that it's in their DNA to want to go out and win every match. And if you look at the finals, I don't think there's been a bad. I don't think there's been a final in the League Cup for the last few years. Apart, I think since Swansea Bradford, where a team in the top 4 hasn't been in that final, and probably 2 out of the top 4. So you know, probably since I mean, where did we finish in 2015? I think we finished 5th in Poch's first year, I think, but we lost to Chelsea, didn't we? Mm-hmm. No, delighted. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We've won the game. We're in the quarterfinals, and you know, and you've got to be in it to win it. So why not? It's a long shot. You know, with Liverpool and Arsenal still in there, it's still a long shot. But it's possible. You don't know.
And if there is one we stand a chance of, it's that. Basically, if we've got any chance or anything, it's the League Cup. And I still think we can give the Europa Cup a run, personally. Do I think we win it? Probably not, but there's still a chance we do that. FA Cup, I don't think we've got a chance in hell. And the league, do I even have to talk about it? And what Dan Coyes is saying here, I think he makes a solid point here. Well, that City back 4 basically walks into that City back 4 that was played basically walks into any team in the Premiership besides the 2 young midfielders and then maybe Núñez, who did play well. The rest of them players get into most teams. They do. I mean, to Ian, what I'm going to do here quick, yeah? I mean, I was thinking about it myself. I've come through just gone through the teams they played, the team they played and players they played who came on the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, Stones, would you have him in your defence?
Stones and Diaz?
No, just one at a time.
Would I have Stones? I'd have Stones in a back 3 with Romero and Van der Ven. That's where I'd put Stones.
I mean, for me, Stones walks on pretty. I'd rather have Stones than Romero, personally. Why would I rather have Stones? Because I think he's a solid defender, but I think mentality, I think he's got it better on the pitch. Mm-hmm. Romero, for me now, the reason I do say this now is because for me, Romero's already looking elsewhere. He had a good game, but I think he's already looking elsewhere. I mean, Stones would give him a run for his money, and also Van der Ven would give him a run for his money. I think the reason Van der Ven gets so much praise, I mean, he's bloody good, don't get me wrong, but it is because of his pace and the way he saves our ass game after game for how we so far pushed up, isn't it? Whereas if you had to just play with 4 at the back, who would you rather have there, Stones or Van der Ven? I mean, we just played with 4 at the back, I know, but if we played not so high up, who would you rather have in there, Stones or Van der Ven?
Well, I always prefer with 2 centre-backs. Like Toby and Jan, you had a right footer and a left footer. I think that dovetails much better than having a right-footed, left-sided centre-back. So I'd probably stick with Mickey.
Yeah, if you're saying, fair enough.
I think the question is, would you have Stones or Romero? Because Stones is right-footed.
Yeah, I think that's more the point to it. Yeah, I get you. But for me, Stones would give Romero a run for centre.
Yeah, of course.
All day long. And with someone like Stones there, you could quite easily say if Romero screwed it up, get out, we're putting a defender just as good as you in there. I
do think that, and this is also down to the system that we've been playing prior to Wednesday. By the way, Van der Ven on his Instagram posted back soon this morning, so hopefully that's not too bad. In reply to that,
he said he'd be back soon. He said he'd be back soon. So I don't think I think he just might have tweaked his hamstring. I don't think he's torn it or totally ripped it, sort of thing.
No, he wouldn't have. If he'd have torn it or ripped it, he just wouldn't have walked off, would he? Yeah, would have carried him off.
But it scared him, obviously, because of what he has had before, isn't it?
Of course. I think Romero and Van der Ven stands alongside most centre-back pairings in the Premiership. You know, they're on a par with most, if not better. It's
just their record don't say so, does it? But we all know if it was played slightly different, they would be better, wouldn't it?
Well, if you look at Wednesday's, the way he set up Wednesday, he played both fullbacks much deeper. He played them more compact as a unit. They played as a unit of 4. Fun enough, I was at the David Pleat evening with the Trust last night. I was having a chat with David before he went on, and I just asked him what he thinks of the system, and he said it's difficult for the back 2 because they've got to cover the whole width of the pitch. Romero and Van der Ven. Now, what other team has plays like that?
Exactly, so, it's true.
There you go.
It's true. But there's another one.
If you play with fullbacks and you play as a unit, so most defences, you've got fullback, centre back, fullback, and you've got 20 yards, whichever way, flat, curved, whichever way you play, they're normally sort of 15, 20 yards apart. And then you've got obviously your back 3, and then you've got your wing backs that hug the touchline. We don't do either. We leave massive spaces, for people to come in down the wings, and that's where Romero and Van der Ven get stretched. And I think they've suffered. They are 2 superb centre backs. And if you look at the defensive record last year against defensive record where Romero had Dyer, Longley, Sanchez, Tanganga, Davis, I mean, there's very little. And you think to yourself, well, we must be 20 goals better off with Porro, Udogie, Romero and Van der Ven than the previous lot. But we weren't. And that's because of the style of football, pure and simple. Those 2 that were left exposed. Thankfully, this season, we seem to be stuck. We've cut right down on the goals we're conceding through counter-attacks. And it is improving. And we've cut down, I think we've just let 1 goal in on a set piece in 14 games this season. So there are improvements you can see from last year. And the defensive record's much, much better. So
I mean, and Dan, thanks, mate. Super sticker, much appreciated, mate. Like I said, sent you a link already, mate. If you wanted to pop on and say your piece on there, you're more than welcome. But we're in agreement basically that Stones would definitely challenge for that back 2, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Right. Then there's Diaz.
I think he's terrific.
I think he walks in over both of them too.
Me too. We should have bought Diaz when Jose wanted it.
Yes.
He wanted Diaz and Levy gave him Rodon.
I personally think, I would have Diaz over Van der Ven and Romero all day long, every day.
I think he's a phenomenal defender. Terrific.
Consistent. Okay, he's in a better team, whatever. I know that, but he's bloody consistent as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So there's another one. Ake. I mean, we know he can play centre back, but we know he mainly plays left back for them. Would you take Ake in there over Udogie?
On current form, yes.
I think I'll take him all day long as a player, full stop.
Yeah. I think Udogie's struggling a bit, isn't he? Udogie,
yes.
He's been struggling recently. I think he's knackered. I think they're playing him week in, week out. You know, there's no proper cover for Udogie. You know, he's been playing Spence there occasionally. Spence or Gray, neither of them are left backs. He obviously doesn't rate Davis highly enough. I mean, Davis isn't even making the Premier League squads. So for him, Davis isn't the cover for Udogie. And he's not playing Reggie on either, is he? Reggie's nowhere near. So Udogie's he's just he will burn out, and he needs a rest. You need to take him out. But unfortunately, you know, with these 3 games coming up, I doubt he will.
But both of them at their best, who would you take? Udogie, from what you've seen, or Ake? I'd have Ake in all day long. I
think in the right system, I'd have Udogie, because I think there's fantastic potential. I think there's a higher ceiling for Udogie than Ake.
Okay, fair enough. I can see where you're coming from. I'd say Ake is more of a left back than a wing back, isn't he? He's a left back, centre back than an actual wing back, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
I can see where you're coming from.
Ake's a centre back playing left back, isn't he? Really?
Yeah. And then we go to Gundogan. For me, he walks into that team over any of our team, even our team on our team. Can I rewind
back, Dan? Can I rewind back, because they played Rico Lewis as well?
That's right. Yeah, they did.
Although, you know, got burnt for pace by Werner on a few occasions, looked terrific as a player. I mean, most fullbacks Werner will run away from. He's got terrific pace. Shame about the end product, but his pace is terrific. But Rico Lewis looked a proper player the other night. Again, you know, another guy that will get into our team somewhere. I would imagine.
I mean, okay, that is a fair point. He did have a good game. I mean, but Gundogan, the one I said, does he or does he not walk into any of our team, even when our midfield are at their peak? For me, he walks into them all day long.
He's the winning mentality, stroke experience that we're missing in midfield. To sum it up,
solid point.
So definitely,
he's everything we haven't got, isn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely everything we have not got. I mean, for me, he walks in over Bentancur all day long. Even when Bentancur's at his best, and I think Bentancur's a very good player when he's at his best. Yeah. But for me, Gundogan is twice the player that Bentancur is, and any other midfielder we got all day long.
Yeah,
I think we can agree on that. And then Savinho, I personally think he had a very good game as well, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Created their goal, didn't he? Started with him. And definitely in front of Johnson. No question.
Oh, that goes without saying all day long. That one, or even go stick him on the bloody left or whatever and that, and he'd still go over most of our ones on there.
Yeah.
I thought Savinho had a solid game. And then they go, okay, they didn't bring on Haaland or nothing like that. But then they go and bring on a player like Silva. You can't tell me that's not half serious. Half serious. I'm not saying they was 100% in it, not at all, yeah, but you cannot tell me that he's not half serious.
So, you know, you're talking about quality players that City started with or substituted, you know, and it was like for like, wasn't it? I mean, you look at the subs, most of them were like for likes, apart from the young kid at the end. You know, Kovacic for Gundogan, Vardiol for Diaz, you know, Silva for Foden. You know, either or, isn't it?
I mean, for me, Silva and Gundogan basically walk into any Premiership team, bar maybe one or two.
Pretty much. So when you look at it overall,
there's another one they brought on as well. Go on, finish what you're saying. Sorry.
It was still a good victory. You know, we're playing coming off the back of the most horrendous performance at Selhurst Park on Sunday. It was absolutely dreadful. So the guy stood next to me. We were just looking at each other after 70 minutes, and we said, "There's just no way we're going to score today." You just couldn't see it. Where the hell was the goal coming from? They were just appalling. It was just dreadful. So to bounce
one
back,
of the worst games of football I've seen us play in a long time, and we've said that how many times now, and you think it can't get worse, and then it gets worse.
Yeah, I remember seeing us lose 3-0 at Palace under Nuno, and I think he had a midfield of Højbjerg, Winks, and Skip. So obviously there was no creativity. I thought that was horrendous. This was worse. Sunday was worse. That was just dreadful.
It was absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
And then another one they also brought on as well. But again, pronounce his name, I'm going to get it wrong, but Gvardiol.
Again,
he'd walk into our team all day long.
Only 88 million. I mean,
you know what I mean? You know, that's tuppence money at Spurs, isn't it?
Yeah. So when people say Pep didn't want to win, I mean, you just look at the players. Do you think any of those players gave less than 100%? You know, how can people say Pep didn't want to win? I think that's, you know, I'd like to see someone say that to his face. They get a mouthful back. Can you imagine?
No,
just turn around Pep and say, "Oh, you know, you couldn't be arsed." I mean, that's basically questioning his integrity.
I do think you can easily say. I do think you can say that he did not. He wasn't that bothered that he lost. But for me, I just can't picture Pep going in for a competition and not wanting to win it. He wants to win everything. He's greedy like that, and that's what you want your manager to be. I mean, Scott M, what you said here shows our fans have no standards. I totally agree with that one, mate.
But hang on, Dan, what are the standards?
Our standards are low. No, but our standards are low that we are basically that desperate that we'd give a league up, not that we stand a chance in it anyway, and just be satisfied with winning the League Cup, even if we finish 12th. And I think I can vouch for quite a few there. We wouldn't like it, but we'd quite happily forget the season for just a League Cup. He is right on what he's saying.
Yeah, we've won 2 league trophies in our history. We haven't won the league since 1961. Why? I don't get why people expect us to be up there. You know, we haven't won the FA Cup since 1991. And we haven't won the League Cup since 2008. So now, without going into the various reasons, and I think people that listen to me know how I feel about this, you know, if you're talking about standards, what are the standards? By whose standards are we being judged? And that's the question.
Do you think then?
By whose standards does Scott want us to be judged by? Does he want us to be judged by Man City's standards? By any of the top 5 that have basically cleaned up since Zenit took over? You know, with the odd cup being won and the odd league being won by Leicester, and Leicester, Portsmouth and Wigan winning a trophy, and Swansea. But apart from that, the big clubs have cleaned up everything in the last 25 years. So whose standards should we be judged by? Standards that we had in the last century prior to ENIC? Or are we judging where we should be against the teams that are at the top and winning all the trophies? So it'd be interesting for Scott to come back and actually answer by whose standards he's judging the club and the fans. At least then we know what Scott's talking about and where he expects the club to be.
I mean, with what Dan said here, I mean, basically at the end, Pep was not too bothered. I'm agreeing with that 100%. But I think he wouldn't. I don't think he would have complained if he'd have won either. I'm not saying he was the most bothered in it, but the fact that about 5 of those players walk into our first team just like that, and I don't think Pep was that bothered that he lost, but I don't think he'd have been upset if he won. And again, even if he does go and say it, I just cannot picture a manager like Pep not being quite happy to win every cup cup competition he's in. No, it wasn't the one he was most bothered about, not at all. But I still think he'd have quite happily walked away with a win there. I mean, who wouldn't at the end of the day? it's not ignoring it. We're agreeing with you on a lot of it, Scott. The fact that it wasn't his most bothered game, but I don't think he went into that game and said, right, I want to lose this. I just, no.
I think the team, Dan, there's no way he wanted to lose it. He wanted to win it. But I think the team that he selected, based with the fixtures coming up and the injuries that he's got, I think dictated that the League Cup was the fourth priority, obviously, out of the 4 trophies that he's going for. And I think he picked a team according to that, to those, both the injuries and the fixture list coming up. So, you know.
I mean, like with what Scott says again here, it's basically what I was going to bring up quickly, yeah? Top 6, 8 richest club in the world, yeah? But do you think a lot of us, I mean, me included, yourself, I mean, all of us, look on Spurs as then we're almost bigger than we actually are? Now, a club of our size, a so-called top 6 club, which, again, I don't think we have no right to be called a top 6 club. I don't think we have a right to be rated in the top 30 in the whole world, basically, if you go by football. If you go by football, we have no right to be in that top 6. We have no right to be in the top 20, 30 teams in the world, because on the football side, especially over the past 25 years, we have done absolutely sweet fuck all. Yeah. If you want to go and bring it on a club size by purely just money, which sadly a lot of clubs are judged by now, then we should be up there with the big boys. No two ways about it. So you can split that right down the middle for me, and I can see both sides of it. But do you think a lot of us do judge us as bigger than what we are?
I think I'll tell you what it is, Dan. I think we were one of the big 5 in the last century with Everton, Liverpool, United and Arsenal.
It was never winning leagues, though.
No, but we're winning cups regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, you go through 61, 62, 63, 71, 72, 73, 81, 82, 84, 91, 99. So there's a regular spread of cups. I think there's 9 cups there in 40 years, including Europe, 3 in Europe. And we were the first team to win a European trophy, first English team, first British team, I think. We were breaking transfer records. Mm-hmm. You know, we were bringing in elite players, skill-wise. You know, we had. You look at the players that we had from the academy that were brought through. Steve Perryman, highest, still 854 appearances. Glenn Hoddle, my own personal favourite Spurs player of all time. Ledley King, one of the best centre backs I've ever seen. And what a shame he got injured in his first, on his league debut with his knees. It was just phenomenal. And then latterly, and that just shows you how we are desperate for these young kids to do well. We've only had Harry Kane that's made it big. We were a big club. We were breaking transfer records. You know, we brought Ozzy and Ricky over from Argentina. We beat Man United to Gascoigne, for 2.2 million. That was, I think, that was a transfer record at the time. We were a big club then. Mm-hmm. Spurs were sold out. You look at the crowds before this all-seater came in, and there were 50, 60,000 every single game. They were a big club. We're not an elite club. An elite club win trophies. And if you look,
I think that's a good point. Sorry to interrupt you. I think that's a solid point on the way you just split that there. Big club and elite club.
Yeah.
Elite club. Yeah.
And I think, we're a big club. The first time we played at Wembley in Europe was the first year in the Champions League, I think, when we played Monaco. And Mbappe came down with Monaco and gave us a good hiding. But there were 85,500 people in Wembley that day. I mean, the club's a big club. Whatever you say, they're filling out 60,000 every single week, every single match, pretty much. And the only reason why we haven't done in Europe is that the tickets weren't priced correctly. If it had gone out at £25, or if it had said like £100, 110, 120 quid for the 4 games for the Europa, the whole lot would be snapped up very quickly. But again, unfortunately, greed gets in the way.
As it always does with Spurs.
Yeah. They're a big club. But we're not, unfortunately, because of the last 24 years where they only bring the club to a certain level where people are interested and they're sort of between fourth and eighth, but they never go the whole hog and take us towards, the top three, which, what Pochettino did was a miracle. And he had Paul Mitchell bringing in really good players during that decade before Mitchell got pushed out. And they were picking up players at really keen prices before the Neymar and Mbappe transfers just rocketed the whole echelon of transfer fees, the whole limit, just everything rocketed after the Neymar deal, and players became overvalued, and English player, and it's gone on even further with English players who it's like an English tax. And to buy an English player, you spend far more than what they're worth.
Because 25%, I'd say, isn't it?
Probably, because they're English, because it's homegrown, even down to kids. For me, I love Archie Gray. Is he worth 40 million? How could he be worth 40 million if Pellegrini is going to Bayern Munich for 38, I think? It's the pricing is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It is crazy on English players. But that's the world we live in. And unfortunately, we don't go in and compete properly. Had we been a proper football club, or even if we'd have had the same worked it on the same basis as of Brighton, who have a succession strategy, we'd have had someone lined up of a similar level to Harry Kane at a similar price when Kane left, because they must have known he wasn't going to sign a new contract. And you can't expect Spurs to let Kane walk out the door and lose close to £100 million, because no team would do that. So, we are a sleeping giant. We most definitely are a sleeping giant. We need a board who want to win. Absolutely spot on.
Yes.
Absolutely spot on.
Do you know what? I was just about to read it out. Like, Danlis, what you just said here, mate, is something I've been saying for a good few years now, yeah? We are a sleeping giant in my eyes. We need a board who want to win and back the manager and a team to give us the best chance as possible. You're 110% right. I'll add another 200% on it if you want, mate. I've been saying this for a long time now. If you really want to have a look at Spurs, size of our stadium, whether people agree with things or not, at the end of the day, the size of the stadium does have something to say on how big a club or how well a club can do because of the income. I mean, you look, we are one of actually the few clubs in football, let alone the Premiership, that can actually support ourselves. We don't need to win trophies and that really to support us. I mean, that's obvious. We can literally support ourselves. And there's not many that can actually pull that off. Not that many. And we got the training facilities. We got the amount of fans. We got money in the bank. We've got everything. That basically, if a real owner who just wanted to win some football, basically, obviously the business side always comes into it because you don't want to go too far down in the money. But if you get someone in there, the right person who wants to win something, I totally agree with what Dan said. I've been saying it for years now. We are literally a sleeping giant. We just need the right fucking owners.
Yeah.
It's true. I totally agree with what he said. Like I said, I've been saying it for ages. We have got everything except the players.
Do you know what? It's the best. It's the best in terms of selling a club. It's the best turnkey operation that Spurs have got, and for that I give Levy major credit. When it comes to selling, they don't need, like United have got to spend a fortune on the ground.
Yeah,
the ground is there, the training ground is there, the infrastructure is all there. So it's just a question of now finding the right owners who have got whatever it is, 4 billion, 4.5 billion, 5 billion, whatever they want to sell.
That's half the problem, isn't it?
It's half the problem. It's probably overvalued. I think.
Because when you look at it, as a football club or a business, whatever you want to look at it, we're worth more than Arsenal. We're worth more than Chelsea. And look at them two. They've totally cooked us over football, full stop.
Yeah.
Okay, with Chelsea, it's been a bit more of the recent 20 years, but what club actually would you make most money out of and stand the biggest chance of doing something with? Unless you're willing to go Chelsea and spend multi-billions, basically, you ain't getting nowhere because their stadium, they can't even support themselves. They have to sell players. They have to win things.
if you look at Arsenal, they had David Dean, who was Arsenal through and through, very, very clever entrepreneur who drove the whole thing at Arsenal. Went over to Japan, brought Wenger in, and completely changed the whole look of football, dieting, everything. After Wenger left, Arsenal haven't won the league since Wenger left, and it took until the European Super League. And I say this, I would have liked to have won the number of FA Cups that Arsenal have won in those fallow years. I say fallow inverted commas, since Arsenal won the league in 2004. But it took the European Super League and for Stan Kroenke to start taking Arsenal more seriously, because he ran the club the way Enoch ran the club. It was all about profit more than anything else. And top four, we used to hear Wenger talk about the top four like it was the Holy Grail. That's because,
like most of our supporters do.
The owners, that's right. And that's where we are at the moment. It's like top four, that's it. And having grown up and seeing most of those trophies, I mean, the first trophy I was old enough to see was 67 when we beat Chelsea in the FA Cup. And we were winning cups regularly right the way through the back end of last century. Never a league team, unfortunately. So
never have been.
It was lovely during those 2 years with Pochettino where we were there or thereabouts, and the football under Poch was just phenomenal compared to virtually everything I've seen going backwards. Well, funny enough, at the Pleats evening last night, there were a lot of people talking about the 87 team that was terrific. And he was saying, because someone asked him about change of style, and he said, one day on the training ground, we just said, right, let's try 5 in midfield. And he had Hodge and Paul Allen doing all the running and the groundwork, and he had Hoddle, Waddle, and Ardiles as his other 3 playing behind Clive Allen. And all of a sudden, it clicked. They didn't have weeks and weeks of practicing. They just found the system in November, and it just went from there. And the team, that was the biggest shame of all, that team never won a trophy. They finished 3rd, should have beaten Arsenal. They were ahead 3 times in the semi-final, including the replay. Arsenal were never ahead until the last 5 minutes of extra time in the last game. They were on their. He was saying they were on their knees in extra time against Coventry. Literally, they were finished. And he said it was interesting. He was saying that he responded too late. I think one of the guys had said to him, Dave Bennett has got the run on Mitchell Thomas, and I think it was from one of those balls that it hit Mabbott and went in for their winner. It was a crime that that team Clive Allen got that season. He got 49 goals, and it was terrific. And it was just great watching that sort of football. And we were up there. We were challenging, 3rd in the table, League Cup semi-final, FA Cup final. We're nowhere near there at the moment, and that's what we had some great players. You look at just Hoddle and Ardiles, Waddle. I mean, just phenomenal. Richard Goff was a monster at the back. Mabbott was superb as well. Clements was a great keeper. You had a super team. Chrissy Houghton, we all know. The weak spot was Mitchell Thomas. It was a great team. We're nowhere near there as a team at the moment.
When Ange had that team, all it needed was another 2 players, I'd say, and we'd have been in league-winning team. That, I think, is the bit that really pisses everybody off.
Yeah.
I mean, just going by what Mike said here, at HotspurHood, Ange had a presser. Mickey out until the international break. Strain on the hamstring. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only a strain. He said he'd be back soon, but that's still a good couple of weeks out. You don't want to just jump straight back in after that. Romero and Werner may be able to play on the weekend. Son has trained, most likely will feature against Villa. I mean, that is one I'm going to go to. Like, our next game is Villa. I mean, if you want to look on Villa, if you go by a football side, out and out football, I'd say Villa are bigger than us. I mean, as a football club as a whole, no, they're not. But if you want to just look on football, Villa are bigger than us. They've won better things than we have. They've won the league how many times? So
they've won the European Cup as well.
They won it. Was it twice they won it or just once? I think it was Nottingham Forest who done it back to back, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think Aston Villa won it once.
They won it in 82. They beat Bayern Munich, I think, in the final in 82.
Yeah, that's why I always say that Arsenal just don't sit up there with the big boys because they've never won that big trophy that basically gives you that label as a top dog, isn't it? That's why Pep was so desperate to do it with Man City, isn't it? Because that would have been the only thing people held on them. And that's why I say Arsenal still have to sit on our table, because we've won everything they've won. They've just won more of it. They have not won that European Cup like every big team has done. And to be in it for like 25 years straight and only get to one final is just a piss take on its own. And that is about the only thing we have on them, but we know it really pisses them off when we bring it up with them. So bollocks to them anyway. And this game against Villa, for me, is... this is a hard game we got coming up here, because I think Villa have a pretty solid squad.
I think it'd be an open game. I can see a 2-2 draw. That's my own personal opinion. And I think it'll show us where we are pretty much as a team. Losing Mickey's a blow, but I think Dragusin will come in. I thought we had a very good game Wednesday night. I think he's a good player. You know, he's a great defender to come in. You know,
that's what I was going to bring up.
You know, that's the level.
Players in a minute.
That's the level that you want. So I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll show us. I don't think there's that much between us and Villa, to be honest. I really don't. You know, they play in a proper system, but if you're looking at player for player, you know, and top 11, don't think there's much between them. I really don't.
No, it's true. I mean, I'm just going to go with what Mike here said, because I spoke to Dave Irish Hotspur, big top fella, for something he mentioned the other day. But I've also heard Mike say this as well, like before on Stel shows and that. I've always said it. This club is ready to explode, basically. We just choose not to. We prefer to be sustainable and to not take a risk. But unfortunately, you need to take risks in sport to win. And that's very true. And I've heard Mike describe this before a couple of times. And Dave said it the other day on a WhatsApp as well, and spoke to him after just through messages and that, where I agree with what he actually said. Levy doesn't actually want this club to go any further, because even though we're all desperate as it is, to the point that we will quite happily take, a lot of us will quite happily take a League Cup and finish 12th, 13th in the league, which is sad on its own, but it's true. But if he then goes and wins something back to back, like say 2 FA Cups and challenging for a league, or even goes and does the unthinkable and wins a league, then all of a sudden we get standards. We actually got a reason to have some standards. Then all of a sudden he's got some standards to live up to. I mean, really, what standards has he got to live up to? If you go by the past 25 years, he's got jack shit to live up to. If you go by 100 years of football, then yes, he has. But then, like I said, if you want to take it back that far, then Aston Villa and Everton have done more than we have.
I'd say the problems today, Dan, is it's funny. Pete was saying that only 4 Premier League clubs made a profit last year, which is interesting. I mean, Spurs lost 80 million, which is one of the reasons, apart from getting the club ready for outside investment, Levy wanted to bring the wages down. Now, there's 2 types of owners. There are the owners that run it as a business, and there's the owners who, as well as running it as a business, because I'm sure people like Sheikh Mansour and no mugs, they are desperate for their teams to win. You know, it's a win-win for them. With ENIC, it's just about profit, and they don't take risks. Anything they do is calculated. Risk is completely mitigated. When it came to Dele Alli at 5 million, Levy moved like lightning to beat Newcastle. When Pleat told Levy, get hold of Modric, this kid's going to be absolutely sensational. They're all going to be after him after the 2008 European Championships that summer. 15-6, I think 16.5. Levy moved like lightning. There are deals, you know, anything. Basuma, a year left on his contract, 25 million. Brighton don't sell players for 25 million. They get 60s and 70s. Madison, 30 million, 1 year left on his contract. Leicester have just been relegated. Again, move quickly, they get the players. But they don't take risks. You know, they should have gone and got someone like that. Whether he'd have joined or not, I don't know. But when Kane left, they should have had someone like Osimhen lined up, or Gyökeres, Isak. At least go for these players, show ambition, and go for these players. And if they're going to cost 90 to 100 million, because you need a top striker who's going to finish off the whole thing. That's what strikers cost. Kane cost 85 million.
Yeah, because they're so few and far between as well, but so important.
That's right.
I mean, these days, if we want to go back, say, 15, 20 years, you could go out there and just pick a striker. There were so many out there to pick. Obviously, there was the world-class ones and the very good ones and that, but there was also many, I would say, what people would have called then okay players, good players, that would look world-class in this day and age. Because I think strikers these days are just few and far between.
Yeah.
If you want to go and take our best strikers out there now and name our top three, as far as I'm concerned, they'd be lucky if they actually did get called world-class if you go back 15, 20 years. They'd still be good. And now the thing is, striker is just few and far between, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so just talking about players, just to answer the comment that I saw from Boda a few minutes ago, why do I support average players like Solanke, Bentancur? There we are. Gray's not average. Gray will be very, very good. He's 18 years old. He's a raw kid that's just come in. I don't know why people are judging him.
We'll go to that in a minute. Go on about Gray in a minute.
Just to answer why do I support, in his eyes, mediocre players, we don't buy top-level players anymore. That's. I think the last top-level player we bought, I don't know. I mean, people might say Van der Vaart. He was coming towards the end of his career. Klinsmann, maybe, was the last top-level player that we bought.
True.
1994.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, Bale wasn't a top-class player we bought, was he?
We don't buy. For me, someone said to me in May, look at next season, who would you buy coming into the transfer window? I said, well, if you want to make a statement, and if you want to change the whole dynamic of this club and challenge for the league, then you go and get, and again, not saying that they would have got, but the sort of level that I was talking about was Polinia, Eze, and Isak. Get those three. What a sight! That would have a much better team.
Of course.
Can you imagine? I mean, look at Eze took the piss last Sunday.
That's an understatement,
didn't he?
But I saw a lot of Spurs players turn and say, yeah, but I don't think Eze would be good for our team and everything when it realised we weren't going to get him. Whereas up until then,
he didn't want him. He didn't want him. So Eze was never coming to Spurs. Ange never wanted him.
Well, quite a few of us thought he was anyway. Yeah, quite a few of us.
Because of what the press was saying, but the press were totally wrong. Yeah. Steve Parish came out and said nobody put a bid in at all.
Either way, we'd have quite happily killed for him at Spurs, wouldn't it?
Oh, God,
Then the minute we're not getting him, a lot of people, quite a few people changed their mind as well. I'd say 25% changed their mind because I'd still say there was a hell of a lot of people who sat there and said, bollocks, mate, it'd be good. Just to answer a quick question here, Wilson T. So Nottingham Forest, bigger than Arsenal. Now, the way I look on it, and it is more of a dig at Arsenal, the way I look at it, but if you're going to be realistic, Arsenal have not won a single thing that we have not. Now, you can go and say they won the Premier League, but the Premier League is still the league. Whether it's called the league, whether it's called the Premier League, or whether you want to call it the Mickey Mouse League, it's still the league. Same as if you've won, say, 5 League Cups and 5 Coca-Cola Cups. Is that 2 separate cups you've won? No, it's just the same cup with a different name. And Arsenal haven't won anything that we haven't won. It's just they've won a lot more of it and been successful with it. Nottingham Forest have won things we haven't won. They've won things that Arsenal haven't won. They went back to back and won that Champions Cup, which is now the Champions League or whatever, but it's still the same competition, basically, and it just played very different. And if you want to put it like that, then yeah, they have won things we haven't. They've won everything, basically, Nottingham Forest, just not a lot of it. At one stage, they was a dangerous team, and so have Aston Villa. And that is the one thing for me that stops Arsenal sitting up there, because every other big team, I can name the top 20 that I would call the biggest teams in the world, have won that Champions League. And to be in it 25 years straight and only get to one final is absolutely terrible, when if you look at how Arsenal were at one stage, they had a fucking scary team. And they had also had a couple of players in there that I liked. And I think they had a couple of players that everyone liked, whether you were a Spurs supporter, Chelsea supporter, whatever. I mean, Patrick Vieira is still now one of my favourite players. Why? Didn't like him at Arsenal, even though I did. But then he went to my club, Inter Milan, and definitely liked him from there. But he's the type of player I've always liked. He's one of my favourite players. Roy Keane is my top man. He's the player that I've always loved. He's the player that I always focused on to play like him when I play football. And again, it's each to their own. But yeah, I would say Nottingham Forest, they'd be sitting on that big table with Barcelona, with Nottingham Forest, with Barcelona, with Real Madrid, with Man U, with Chelsea, with Man City, with even Villa, with Bayern Munich. And then you can go through the list of the others, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, and you can go through other teams like Porto and everything else and go through them. They have won what the big boys have won. They have won that top dog trophy as far as I'm concerned, and also won everything else. So in some ways, you could say they are a bigger club than Arsenal. But if you want to be really technical about it, far from it. I mean, Nottingham Forest are half the size of us. So, but if you want to go by things they have actually won, they've won it all. Arsenal haven't, nor have we.
But just like us, Dan, it's all last century, isn't it?
Mm-mm.
With Forest and the trophies. So you could say that they're a sleeping giant as well.
I wouldn't say they're quite the same. They wouldn't be quite as easy to come out of it as we could if we just if like we had a manager, if we had an owner that would just be willing to spend it on the football side. I don't think they'd explode quite like we would, not at all, because their club as a whole, stadium, training facilities and everything. It's like what you say, whoever takes over at Man U, they've got the money that will come into the club, but they've got to basically buy Man U for something like, what, 5 billion?
Something like that, 5 billion, I think.
Yeah.
What did they spend? I think they spent 25% at, I think it was around 1.3.
Yeah. But let's just say 5 billion. Let's keep it steady, yeah? But then you go into Man U, you've literally got to build a new stadium. Not fix it, you've got to rebuild it. Now, you look at our stadium, that was like how many, 5 years ago now?
5, yeah, that's right. They started building they started the foundations the year before we moved out, didn't they? Because they diverted everybody around to different entrances in that last season. So the ground's been, they've been building it. They started the build in 2016. Now, building prices have rocketed since COVID. So if ours costs 1.2 billion, how much is a new Old Trafford going to cost?
That is what I was going to say. And especially when you look at it, the price of everything over the past 5 years, and I do mean everything from fucking bread and butter and mayonnaise to bloody metal and people working on that, has gone up by about 3 times the price, hasn't it, to an extent? And whoever takes over there, if they want to build a stadium like Old Trafford, they're going to be spending 2.5 billion, 3 billion.
And he's talking about building 100,000 seater stadium. So God knows what it's going to cost. God knows what it's going to cost.
Whereas with us, back to the sleeping giant thing, it is there. It is on a fucking plate, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You've just got to buy the club and then be willing to put the money into the football side of it, because the club will just... My ideal thing, I must admit, with the whole thing, I'm not going to get into that too much, but seeing as we've mentioned it, if you gave me a choice of how I would want something to actually happen at Spurs, as in a new owner and what everything, I'm going to say something here that's going to rattle a few people. I wouldn't want to see the back of Levy. I'd want him to stay at Spurs. Now, people are thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? Now, you give me my ideal situation. We know it don't work like that, but call it talking off a dream if you want, I want someone to go into that club and say, Joe Lewis, you ain't got long to go, mate. I'll give you 3.5 billion for the club. What do you say? Joe Lewis says yes. Bang. That's Levy out the window to an extent. And what I mean by that is he would still have a little say here and there, but he wouldn't be the bod that makes the decision. Joe Lewis just sits on the side as the main owner and makes the main profit of it.
Call that a hostile takeover, Dan.
Yes. And what I'm saying is, and then turn around and say, right, Levy, I still want you here to do a job, but you ain't doing my job. Fuck off and go do your stuff with getting us the money in and everything. Go do your job with getting us our go-kart track and all our sponsors and everything else. You are now not allowed to touch this or even look at this football pitch. Otherwise, I will tie you up and put you in the back of a car or something, basically. And you won't be swimming in a boot. You will deal with this business side, nothing more, nothing less. Because businessman-wise, we've got the best businessman in football, or definitely one of the top 3, I'd say. Best in the Premier League.
Outside of footballing decisions.
Yes, he's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
He's probably the best. I mean, if you look how big he's made Spurs, you just cannot fault him in that aspect. But when it comes to the football, he's diabolical. And so my ideal thing, I wouldn't actually want to see the back of him. I'd want someone to basically come in, take Joe Lewis bit, which totally knocks Levy off of his high chair, basically, and says, right, you deal with the business, keep your mouth shut about everything else. I will deal with what goes towards the football, the money that goes towards the football, players we buy, everything else. Now get on with your job, mate. Do one. And I don't think Levy would disappear in that aspect. He'd get the right ump with it, but he knows the income he's still got on it, and the bigger the club gets, the more money he gets when he sells his... Is it 19%, 20%, something like that?
Who, Levy?
Yeah.
29.
Oh, 29. I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But either way, someone comes in and takes Joe Lewis bit, they're the dog, isn't they? They're the dog.
Well, that's the key. That's the key. And if Amanda Stable is there, then obviously Lewis wants to sell. So let's hope this happens. Let's hope that he's bought out. I fully agree with you, Dan. I have no problem with Levy making money for the football club with all the activities at the ground. From boxing, I heard they're looking at trying to do wrestling next. You've got the NFL, you've got concerts, you've got rugby league or rugby union, whatever. More than happy, providing it goes into the football club. Because at the end of the day, the football club is key. That's the core. That's the core revenue. They talked about 549 million turnover. 549 million turnover last year for the last financial year. Well, I think 70 million of that was down to non-footballing activities. So you've got, what have you got? You've got 12, 13, 14% is non-football. So football is the key, and football shouldn't be at the bottom of the list of priorities. And it just seems to be. And we need to get somebody in. Like Mansour brought in the guy from Barcelona who is football through and through. He brought in, I think he started off, was it Mancini he brought in first? I can't remember. But there was a football person coming in. And there have been, unfortunately, so many footballing decisions that have been wrong.
It's true.
He brought in Scott Munn. Scott Munn brought in Ange. Now, I don't think that was a great decision. Time hopefully will prove me wrong, because I'm desperate for Spurs to win a trophy, and I hope Ange does win. I hope he wins something while he's at the club, because I'm sick of 16 managers plus 4 interim managers in 24 years, which it's just ridiculous. How are you going to get any stability? The top clubs have all had their managers in. Wenger, Ferguson were in for years. Now you've got Guardiola's been in 9 years, is it? Klopp was in for 8 years. And, you've got to have some stability. Arteta's been there for 5. So the big clubs are looking at having their managers in, and they're building a project, they're building teams in, and they want to build a juggernaut over time. So constantly changing managers does Spurs no good at all. So I really do hope Ange is successful.
Okay.
But to bring in Scott Munn, who is not a football person, to me, he's a financial person. You've got to bring, you had Perisic there, who I think did a great job, and I'm sure when his time is up with the band, I'm sure he's still around. They still think he's there on a consultancy basis. I think UEFA said that he could do something. I'm sure I read something about that. But we need somebody in. Let Levy run the business side. Let him make the money for the football side, and let's be competitive. That's all I want. There's no guarantee you're ever going to win a trophy. Nobody can guarantee anything in life, but at least be in the game. And I think that's what everybody wants. We're all being charged the highest prices, and we're not seeing the best players. And for me, that's the biggest problem here.
Let me just answer a question here. Anthony Clark, AFC, always see you on him, mate. Good to see you. Apart from last bit, you can stick that where the sun don't shine. But apart from that, always seem like a good fella. Dan, when has Tottenham ever been a giant? They haven't. Never. Yeah? But of a club, let alone a sleeping giant. Now, if you listen to what I said earlier, sleeping giant, you go get us an owner who is willing to spend on players what you are willing to spend on players, we can become bigger than Arsenal. Why? That would take time if you want to put it over like cups and everything. But when you put it on sides of the club like they do with money, we are worth more money than Arsenal. The reason Tottenham would be a sleeping giant and come out of it is because we would actually start winning things on the football side. As a football club, we can support ourselves. We don't need support of selling players. You don't really need that so much anymore either. But if you put Spurs and Arsenal back to back without selling players, without winning things, and just put them back to back as two football clubs, we make significant more money than you. We make more money than Chelsea. We pretty much make more money than nearly every team in the Premiership. Not every team, but a high majority, yeah? And that is purely just for what we do out of the bloody football.
I think, Dan,
Arsenal do not get people come to them and asking for Anthony Joshua to box there and stuff like that. The money we make as a club as a whole, yeah, which is mainly out of the football, it's there for the taking. That is why I say a sleeping giant, mate, because we can bring in more money, more revenue than pretty much any club out there.
I think financially we're probably bigger than Arsenal, but on the footballing side they're bigger than us.
Of course not. Yeah, much bigger than us. Of course they are. It'd take us 25 years of consistent football to even get close.
How many
like I said,
won?
Exactly. I'm not disputing that. But like I said earlier, it gets judged on two sides. Why are we the 8th biggest club in the world? It certainly ain't because of the fucking football.
Financially biggest club in the world. That's, you know, people unfortunately just throw out a term, but they don't actually quantify it. We might be the 8th richest club in the world. We're not the 8th biggest club in the world. So
yeah, I get where you're coming from. But my point is, whoever takes over, they're going to get their money coming back in slowly but surely. We're there for the taking. With the revenue that we can just bring on ourselves without having to sell players, without having to win anything, is quite shocking on its own. I mean, you go and put the biggest event, one of the biggest events in London there. There's only one of two places they're going to, and that's Wembley or Tottenham. They are not going to go and say, "Can we have it at the Emirates?" Even though the Emirates still a steady ground on that, but they have never had the sort of stuff we've had there. Not for the amount of time and the amount of consistent events.
I think Arsenal missed the trick when they built the Emirates. They missed a trick in terms of all the other activities that Spurs are putting on.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I would still want to keep Levy there. I mean, and like someone said here, no, you want him out of the place and everything and that. He's got a bad reputation with agents, everything else. Totally agree. That's why I said, fuck off and deal with the business, mate. You ain't even touching nothing to do with the football.
Yeah.
And when I mean the business, I mean you sort out our go-kart tracks, you sort out our hotel, you sort out that crap and what goes in and out of the stadium as in events and everything else. You are never, ever going to do anything on the football side, never speak to an agent, nothing. And you've got to admit, it would be the ideal to look at in that way, the way I see it with that. But the amount of revenue we could bring in is a hell of a lot.
Can I just answer?
Go on, mate.
So just answer Billy. Afternoon, Bill. I went to see Coldplay June last year at the Etihad, and I'm going to see Billy Joel at Anfield next year. So the other clubs have jumped on. They're doing it already. I know pals of mine in Newcastle went to see Sam Fender in the summer at St James's Park. All the other clubs are bringing concerts in now. It's happening. You know, Cardiff.
I mean, that Everton one is a lovely stadium. To me, that Everton one looks banging. I wouldn't mind going inside and having a look at that. It looks like a proper good stadium. I don't think it's smart that they put it so close to water, but that's a different story. But again, whoever takes us over is on there, or whoever, if it ever happens, it's on there on a plate, basically. Right, got another guest. Can bring him on. Stel, how are we doing, mate?
Hey.
Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Everyone good?
All good?
I mean, I'm still happy from the result the other day. And the bit I'm going to get to now, you've joined us at the perfect time, is a couple of the players that I want to pick out. Me personally, obviously, if you want other ones you want to make a point with, then go for it. But in that game against City, like we've already said, Stel, it wasn't on top of Pep's that he was that bothered about it, but I still think he went for the win. But he just weren't bothered that much that he lost it, because he's got the right to sit there and say we got bigger fish to fry. But out of the players that we had play on the pitch, since I've got you two here, I mean, really, I should give Sava a call as well now. But Archie Gray, he was the first one I was going to bring up anyway, even with no one on it. Now, for me, in that first half, I thought he was getting turned over left, right, and centre. I think he had a terrible first half. And I was saying all the way through the first half, we need to bring someone on to cover him. Because, again, he was getting used as our weak spot. But personally, I think in that second half, I felt he actually held his ground pretty well. I'm not saying he was good, but compared to what he was in the first half, I actually thought he actually held his ground pretty well. I thought he actually stepped out of his shell a little bit, if you want to put it that way. I think he got his shit together a bit. And it's not as though we put someone on the side to cover him properly either. I thought he actually had a respectable second half, whereas his first half I thought was atrocious. So if you want to judge it through the whole game, you can say he had an all-right game because it wasn't consistent. But what do you two think on that? First half, I think he was absolutely shocking. Wouldn't have been surprised if he'd come off. But second half, I thought he held his ground pretty well, especially considering Kulu wasn't put on the side to cover in his arse and he's only got skinny little Johnson in front of him. Go on, Ian. I'll go with you first on that one.
Interesting. Go back to the Pleat evening last night. I asked David Pleat what he thought of Archie Gray.
I'm asking you.
Okay. And I agree with what he said, totally. He said he's very good for his age. He's technically very good. He doesn't see where he's going to... He said he's a central midfield player, which I agree with. He doesn't see where he's going to play, where he's going to get a place at the moment in the team because we've got a surplus of central midfield players in Basuma, Bentancur, Sarr. And he said he thinks Ange is trying him. He thinks Ange is trying him in different positions because he thinks he's versatile. What did I think of him on Wednesday? I thought he had a tough first half. Yeah. Nunes, Brazilian international. I mean, you know, everybody, we all accept that Guardiola's the bollocks, and Guardiola paid 65 million for this guy. So, you know, he's no mug, Nunes. I think he had a tough time. He took him outside on all occasions, bar one, when he came in with that cut right again and cut across him. We're always told, as you know, fullbacks always told, show the guy down the line, never inside. And he was doing that. And Romero was mopping up most of the crosses that were coming in from Nunes when he got past Gray. Second half, he changed the way he played, and Nunes wasn't half as effective. And I think, you know, you're looking at an 18-year-old kid who's played a handful of games at the top level. And because he cost 40 million, which is not his fault, I heard Leeds wanted 50 in January. They got him for a 40, including Rodon. And I think with him, it's potential. He's not ready for the first team. He's not ready to start now, although I'd love to see him against Ipswich in a 6. He dominated Chelsea last year at the Bridge. So the kid's obviously got something about him.
Right.
And how long is it since we've seen and I'm not just him, you know, how long is it since we've seen teenage kids come playing at Spurs in the first team, albeit a handful of cup games? They never Spurs never normally give teenagers a chance. That was for the old days with Perriman at 17 and Hoddle at 17 and Neil McNabb at 16. The Spurs haven't recently, you know, given kids a chance. I think it can only be good. You know, for me, and to show the character to bounce back in that second half after having a torrid first half with Nunes, I think showed great character with the kids. And
so just in that game, forget about all the potential, Ian. Forget about this and that. Forget about all the fucking debates we've had about him, because I'm just about as sick to death as the rest of us are, even though they're still amusing to listen to and get involved with at times. But on that game solely, forget everything else on that game solely.
Did okay. Had a tough, wasn't great in the first half, improved in the second half. But if you're an 18-year-old kid and you're playing this is your third or fourth start for the team.
Stop making excuses. You're going to get reasons. I'm just asking on that game. Forget his reasons, forget his excuses, whatever you want to call them.
I think overall, for where he is in his development, I think he did okay.
I think it was a respectable game he had overall.
Yeah.
respectable. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give him like a 6 out of 10, and that's purely because he got his shit together in the second half.
Yeah,
Because first half, I did think he was poor. I mean, Stel, how do you see it on that one?
I think he's an average football player that's been overhyped by the media. It's been overhyped by journalists, overhyped by the fans. He's not rubbish. He's not anything special. I don't think he's a top player. I think he's a young kid that shone. But that's it. And we've gone way overboard with him again. The fact we spent a lot of money to bring him in, I think is concerning, because when you spend that kind of money, you want an oven-ready player, someone that can hit the ground running. And
I'm 100% with you on that one.
Right. If I just go by his stats in this game, because you talk about this game, total tackles 0, ground duels 1, none, aerial duels 1, none. Possession loss.
Out of how many though? Still, out of how many? I mean, if there were no aerial duels, then it's 0 out of 0, isn't it?
Well, so hang on a second. I'll come back to you on it, Ian.
I can answer that. It's 0 out of 1 for ground duels and 0 out of 3 for 0 out of 2 for. Oh my God, 0 out of 3 for ground duels, 0 out of 1 for aerial duels. So out of a combined 4, 0. Possession lost 15 times, which is the same criticism I've had for Solanke. Solanke's got similar stats when it comes to losing possession. I've criticised him in the past. Accurate passes, 64%, which was below the team average. So there's nothing here to say to me, there's nothing here that stood out for me. The only thing that maybe you'd say, do you know what? That's not too bad. Was he did intercept the ball once the whole game. 1 interception. I don't know how many chances he had to intercept, because it doesn't tell me that. It just tells me that he did intercept the ball once. So at least he intercepted a passage of play. So when I look at Archie Gray, I'm not against him. I don't dislike him. I just don't think he's ready. This has been my argument every time we've had this same debate. So
I think that's what quite a few have said still, that he's not ready. And some people seem to think that, like wishing something bad on him or whatever. And that it's just, I don't think he's ready for the big times yet properly. And I think that game, but he did hold his ground in the second half. That's all I'm saying about him. I don't think he's ready yet. We don't even play him in the right fucking position, for God's sake, when we do play him. But considering that first half he's had and the other 2 games I've seen him have, I think that second half was definitely an improvement. I'm not even saying he was good, but compared to how he was in the first half, he was significantly better. And that's me giving him compliment as far as I'm concerned, because he did improve. And I don't think he's ready.
The thing is, people are saying, oh, but he was up against Nunes. Mateus Nunes has not been good for Man City. Man City fans have criticised him a lot. He's been under massive criticism a lot. So for us to suddenly say, oh, but he was up against Nunes. Nunes isn't anything special, guys. Nunes is not Foden. He's not Grealish. He's definitely not Savinho, who helped set up Man City's goal. Look, I personally think for Archie Gray to become the player that perhaps his potential shows us, he needs to play every single week 90 minutes in higher level competition. 90 minutes against Karabag, 90 minutes against Ferencváros, for me, isn't going to do it. You're playing tougher games in the Championship when you're playing for Leeds, Archie Gray. Fact. I would rather Archie Gray gets 90 minutes every week playing at a higher level. Like the game he played against Man City, okay, it's Man City's B team. You could say that's a Championship game, maybe Premier League.
We had this discussion, Stel. We started off the show with that discussion about.
I'm sorry, man. It was more than Championship. Come on, Stel. That's a bit low. It was more than Championship.
Look at the players.
Did you hear what I just said? I said that was more Championship, maybe bottom half Premier League. But you lot started talking as I said that bit.
Sorry, I didn't hear the Premier League.
It's okay.
Okay, I'll back off.
Right? Or bottom half Premier League. If Archie Gray played in games like that every week, then I get it. But he's not. We've got the same problem with Bergvall. Like, he's not playing any games against tough opposition. with Bergvall, you could say, well, fair enough, because you're in Sweden, you weren't really playing tough opposition anyway. So for Bergvall, it's the same. But then how's he going to develop and be able to play for Spurs? You look at the fact we started Mikey Moore at Crystal Palace away, but we haven't started Bergvall or Gray in these games says it all, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. No. Hang on. No, still. No. We had a shortage of players on the left, didn't we? Odegaard's injured, Son's injured. You had a choice of Werner or Moore. Werner's way out of form. And Mikey Moore had a brilliant cameo last week against Alkmaar. So what did he do? Gray's up against Bentancur, Basuma, Sarr.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not a number. Ian, he's not a number 6. We need to stop this.
He is a 6.
No, he's not, because he's not played there. We
I must say it's no. Still, I had a chat with a guy who's been bred in football all his life last night.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me you and me know better than David Pleat on football terms, Pleat turned around and said he is a central midfield player. His problem at the moment is that there is a surplus of midfield players in that position at the moment, and Ange is not going to play him there at the moment. He's trying to find a position elsewhere for him. That's how it looks to a football man like Pleat.
That's not good though.
This is madness. £40 million for a midfielder who's the 4th best midfielder out of the players you've mentioned. David Pleat just confirmed it. You just said that there's 3 players ahead of him. Archie Gray. They're all better.
What if he's been bought for the future still? And we've got an £80 million player in 2 years' time.
How do you develop for the future if you're not getting the minutes as a youngster in your position? You don't develop like that. If I was there, I would have problem. If I was there, I would have said to David Pleat, David, I'm a football coach. I've developed many young players. If you don't play them and if they don't get regular minutes at the level, how are you going to develop them? Can I just say something? I'm just saying it. This is the same mistake we made with Skip and Winks. 2 promising talents. They came into the Spurs first team and we shoehorned them into different positions. They regressed. They both regressed. We are going to do the same with Gray like this. Mark my words. We can't keep doing this. If he was that good as a 6, he'd be playing there. He hasn't played there pre-season. He hasn't played there in Europe. He hasn't played there in the Carabao Cup. He hasn't played there in the Premier League. How is he a 6, guys? I don't understand this conversation.
He didn't play there for Leeds.
He did.
He did a little bit.
Okay.
But
3 games, 4 games?
No. It was a mix between right back and midfield. It was a complete mix. It's like virtually 50-50.
So
I'll take your word for that one.
Ian, if he's got 3 players ahead of him, then at least 2 of those players have to be sold before Gray plays as a 6. That's not going to happen. We're not selling Basuma next year. We're not getting rid of Bentancur. We're not getting rid of Pape Sarr. So he's never going to play there at Spurs for at least 3-4 years. By then, he's no longer a 6.
Well,
and we spent £40 million.
I'm not interested in the money still. The money's got nothing to do with it. It's all about getting the right players at the club, regardless of what we pay. I keep saying that.
I'm bothered about the money. I'm not bothered about the money. Spending players on other positions.
I've got to tell you something. Still, can I ask you something? Does it affect your bank balance at the end of every month, what Levy spends on a player? It doesn't affect my bank balance.
It affects what I watch on the pitch. It affects what I watch on the pitch, because instead of Archie Gray, we could have spent £40 million on a desperately needed left-sided attacker.
But we should have done that as well.
Yeah, we should have. I agree. But we didn't.
We should have done that as well. We just didn't buy enough players. We didn't buy enough established players, should I say.
I'll tell you what. For me, Dan, I'm done with this Archie Gray conversation, because all I do is repeat myself, and I'm not going to change my
I wasn't going to let it go on for long. Don't worry.
Okay.
Ian's not going to change his view. I'm not going to change mine. Sam's not going to change his. We're just going to keep going.
I'm not going to change mine. That I think he's got potential, whatever, but we're playing him out of position. How is he going to fucking develop when we don't even play him in position? How is he going to develop when we're literally just squeezing him in the team for the odd game here and there? I still say the best place this boy could go, stick him back at Leeds, or go and stick him on loan where he's going to play consistent games over and over again to develop, because he's not going to develop sitting on our Spurs bench playing 60 minutes here and there, or maybe a game here and there.
Squad's too small.
But that's not what I'm saying, Ian. Yeah,
I'm just saying that
doing. But
Right.
with that, he had a respectful game. Agreed?
Let's have it right. Ian, let's have it right. The only reason Archie Gray even gets a sniff at right back is because Spencer's injured and we didn't put him in the Europa Cup squad. Come January, when we get to restructure the Europa Cup squad, we get to submit a squad for the second phase, the knockout phase. Spence will be back in. And if Spence fit, he'll be playing right back in the cup competition. Now Archie Gray's not going to play. I honestly believe that's what will happen next. Otherwise, if you're Spence just signed a new 5-year contract.
Let's see. Let's see what happens.
I mean, I get what's just been said in here as well.
3-year contract. Beg your pardon, 3 years.
You don't loan out a £40 million player. No, at Spurs you don't. Other clubs have done. And forgetting the price for just that moment, he should be on loan. But it's because he cost for 40 million, and we should have gone for someone first in the first team with that, which we desperately needed. But do you stick a 40 million player on loan? I get the point, but for him to succeed and for him to get better, he should be playing game in, game out somewhere and getting more and more experience. And he's just not going to get that in this season at Spurs. Okay. And I just can't see how that makes him ready. But look, I'm going to leave it at that, Ian. Yeah, because I'm getting into this now.
Just last thing to say. Sam and I had a chat about Gray this morning. We both would love to see him, like one of the guys said on the post just now. We'd like to see him in a 6 against Ipswich at home against a lower Premier League team, and let's see how he gets on there.
Not going to happen. David Pleat confirmed that. David Pleat just
me and Sam said that, not David Pleat.
Oh. Well,
we both like to see him against Ipswich in a 6. Let's see how he gets on.
You would have thought that's the sort of game.
Bridge last year, he's no mug.
You would have thought that is more the type of game we'd try him at, but then you can't. In our position, you definitely can't afford to be complacent either. So I'll go to another player now because I refuse to just go on about Archie Gray as well. I don't think no one's going to back down from their opinions. But he had a respectful game by the end of it. Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Respectable. Well, it was 50-50, wasn't it, Ian? It was respectable at the end.
2-1 still. Sorry, mate.
And so next one I'm going to go to, I personally thought Dragusin had a quality game. I thought he was very strong. He was good at going forward with the ball when he had to. I think it's because we ended up playing significantly lower, and that's a point I will get to as well before anyone goes to it, of was it intentional or was it that we had to? That's a different story. But for what he had to do with us sitting further back, and one thing for me, he showed that defence misses big time. 2 things, sorry. That's just out-and-out muscle and being able to do something in the air with the ball. Because we all know Van der Ven, he ain't the strongest fella out there. I'm not saying he's weak, but he ain't the strongest one out there. And one thing, his poor point, and it was always said that when he was at Wolfsburg and everything else, he's terrible in the air. He's not good in the air in any means or manner. Okay, maybe he can jump up and head the ball out, but that doesn't necessarily make you good in the air. And Romero, he's not particularly good in the air either. I mean, I think the fella's shorter than me. And I think Dragusin definitely showed something that for a game like that, if we were to sit back that little bit more, he's definitely a good player who can work there. I thought he had a quality game personally. I thought he had a very strong game. Maybe quality is a bit of an exaggeration of a word, but I thought he had a very strong game. Stel?
So clearances 5, block shots 1, interceptions 1, ground duels 1. He won 1 out of 100% record. Aerial duels 1. He won 50%. Possession lost only 8 times, which is very low. Accurate passes 81%, just above the team average. From the stats wise, good. In terms of overall play, what I saw, I would say because we were pushed back low, like you said, it suits him. Dragusin,
that's down to a T.
He's a proper defender, isn't he? He's a big unit, knows how to put a tack in, knows how to put a block in. You don't want to really be in a one-on-one with him in a physical battle because he'll probably eat you. That game probably suited him. There was one moment, if I'm right, where either he made a wild pass out from the back, and they got in, didn't they? He was part of this moment where in the second half where he was sloppy. That's probably the only criticism. But listen, I like Dragusin, but exactly what I said on social media before the season started. If we're going to play a high line, this guy's not good. And we saw it against Newcastle. He was part of that back line. In fact, I think he kept them all on side, didn't he, Newcastle? So if we just want an out-and-out centre-half, the old-fashioned centre-half, yeah, I like him. I think Dragusin is much better than the options we've had in the past. Eric Dyer's coming off the bench, Ben Davies, all this crap. He's a proper defender that comes off the bench. He could easily start for us, but if we're going to push up, I think there's a problem, Dan. So for this game, the way this game panned out, yeah.
It worked out for him. Yeah, and I think a few of us have been saying that for a while, and that's why he looks so good in Italy, because that is more of what Italy do as such. The Serie A, that is more how a majority of them play. And considering as well, if we're going to say this about Gray, dare I say that word, we've also got to give Dragusin, I think, the bit of leeway of when does he start significant games as well, and when does he get gaming time? I don't think he's actually seen much more than Archie Gray.
He will now. Now that Van der Ven's out, I expect him to start every game.
Of course. But I'm talking up until the game the other day. He has had lack of football.
Well, that's why you get all those stories, those rumours that his agent wants him out and he wants out. And if Napoli come in for him in January, he'll go to Napoli. That's why these rumours are circulating. It's because he's not getting game time. Look, he must be frustrated as hell. He's come to Spurs. We spent 30-odd million. And he's had barely any look-ins at all in this team. From his perspective, he must be thinking, fucking hell, you've lost 4 games this season in the league and I don't even get to start to prove myself. And that defence has been at fault. If you're him, you must be really, frustrated. And I actually think if he doesn't start getting proper game time, I wouldn't be surprised if he does move on maybe in the summer. Not January, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does move on because you've got to rotate players more often. But also, Dan, he's been a little bit of his own.
He ain't helped himself, has he, at times?
Well, that sending off against Karabag meant he misses European games and he would have got more game time. But that was, again, that's a sign of him high up getting caught out. He's not that player.
Yeah.
He can't play that game.
I agree.
But I like him. I like Dragusin. I like him played in a certain way. I think Dragusin's a good player.
Yeah, I agree with that. And where we got, whether it was, I'll come to it, tactics, whatever, but whether it was the actual tactics to stay back and counter-attack it more, or whether they just pressed us back so much, it just suited him in the game so much more, didn't it? Because he wasn't up on the bloody halfway line where he had to spin round and run after something. And that is definitely one of his weaker spots. I can't remember where it was mentioned here just not long ago that he's terrible on the ball. I don't think he's actually that bad on the ball either. I'm not saying he's good, but I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's terrible. And in a game like that, where you're getting pushed back,
Dan, he's good on the ball. His accurate passing rate is high. He's good on the ball.
I think he's all right on the ball. Don't think he's great, but he's definitely not terrible for sure. But he's good. He is definitely an ideal player. You would love in the middle as just a good old centre back, like a John Terry sort of thing, where you've got 2 good ball playing defenders either side of you. For me, he's a perfect man for the middle for a back 3. And again, that's another one we can go into on another day, basically. But I personally think he had a solid game. Ian, what do you think on it? I thought he had a very good game.
It was quality. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember Vicario's save. The stats say that he made a save. I thought they had 3 shots. I thought they were all blocked. I thought Dragusin was superb.
There was only one that went through. There was only one he had to basically save, from what I remember. It was 3 on target.
He brings different qualities to the back 4 than the other 2 players. He's great in the air. His stats in that year in Italy, I think, was second to none for winning dead balls. I think it's terrific. I think it's great that we've got somebody with his quality that's going to come in on Sunday and replace Van der Ven. Now the question is, do you play him right or do you play him left? Which side do you play him and which side do you play Romero?
I'll come to that.
That's the question. Both right-footed, and I saw, and it shows how far Dragerson has progressed within the framework, the structure at Tottenham. Because if you remember his first game when he came in at Fulham last season, he was all at sea. He played, and they played him left side, and all the fans were saying, "Why are they playing him as left side? He's right-footed. He doesn't look comfortable there." I thought he looked terrific the other day.
But was that more down to the player, or was that more down to the game actually suited him?
I think the game suited him. I think Ange, for once, set up the team in a mature way, not this ridiculous kamikaze high line. His tactics were much better. The back four played further back, so they were coming onto the ball rather than running, facing their own goal the whole time for through balls. And I think it showed. You know, City had 69% possession and hardly created a thing. Nothing. Vicario he probably had his quietest match all season. So, and that was down to the tactic as well as I think the players at the back playing well. I thought Romero and Dragerson were terrific.
Well, it was definitely
Davis played well when he came on.
I mean, that's not what I was going to say. Like with Romero, that was definitely one of the better games he's played of late, without a doubt. Because for me, I know we could say there's been players that have been worse as such, but if we want to judge a player by his actual quality or his potential or whatever else, I'd say overall Romero has been our worst player by his standards, by someone who wins the World Cup, by someone who wins what are they called? 2 other cups he won. I can't remember the bloody name of it now. What's the 2 other cups he's won with Argentina?
Copa America and
That's it, Copa America and the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I personally think he's been one of our worst, if not by his standards, worst players. And that was definitely a better game for him. He definitely had one of his better games there.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you two think on that?
Still?
I don't think Romero is a leader, but I think in the right system. Okay, this is now a Tottenham away and Ian Lubin takeover. Dan's gone. He's gone. Don't need him. Welcome to Tottenham, Ian away. I was back.
No, the internet took me out there. It just clicked for a minute.
I've done that a few times. I don't think Romero is a leader because leaders make big decisions and often get them right in situations and teams that aren't maybe set up to the best of the player's ability. And Spurs, in my opinion, aren't set up to the best of what Romero can do. And you're seeing the mistakes he makes. And for me, I don't think he's a leader. I think he's a top player, though, because there's no doubt for Argentina, he's different gravy. He's on point. It's a bit like Saliba. Someone was saying to me the other day, and they made a good point. Saliba for Arsenal is superb, like really top draw. Goes to France, he shits the bed. Why?
He really don't look all that when he's played for France, does he?
Not at all.
That's when he even gets in the team.
So I think with Romero, I think he is a good player, but I don't think he's a good leader. I don't think he's got that initiative where he'll get control of defense. He'll command that team, or he'll lead by example. I don't think he's that. But saying that, Dan, quite often when we are up against it, he's often the player that's driving us forward. If you remember against Arsenal last season, he was the only one that was actually trying to drive us when we were 3-0 down. So I'm kind of here with Romero, Dan. I'm here. I don't know where I'm at with him, if I'm honest with you. 1 minute I think, do you know what a good player we've got. Then the next day it's fucking hell. What have you just done there?
I'm totally with you. That's why I say I think he's been one of, if not our worst player, because I'm judging him by his standards.
Correct.
I mean, you can say no one has been particularly special, whatever. Yeah. But again, I'll go to Kulu in a minute. Yeah. But I think Romero definitely had one of his better games there, without a doubt. Because I do think he has been pretty poor all season by his standards. I mean, I think we can put 3 games on him and about 4 goals, can't we? 2 games, 4 goals, something like that.
You're joking.
He had a good game?
I think Romero's our best defender, which is why it's so frustrating when you see when you see the mistakes he's been making. You know, he ran past Vardy and lost him for the goal against Leicester, just as one example. He flew out towards the right, towards their left wing at Newcastle, and left it wide open when Harvey Barnes got the winner. Not the winner, was it the equaliser, the first goal? He was too front on the halfway line when they put the ball through for the second goal. I thought there was a foul against Arsenal, but you know, he could have been stronger against Gabriel. So he's not been up to his usual high standards. I think we're judging him for high standards because he is a World Cup winner, and he has.
Well,
and he's been,
you
know, he's been our best defender for the last couple of seasons. I think he's a cracking player, and I think he was back. He was going back towards where he's been the last 2 years on Wednesday night. I thought they were terrific Wednesday night. I thought they defended well. Every time, you notice every time Nunes got round Gray on the left, put the ball in, virtually every time Romero was there to block it. His positional sense Wednesday was superb. So
yeah, and I'm judging him personally by how good he is. Same as we can only judge other players by how they've played, how we've seen them play, but how we've seen him play over the years and what we know his capability is. For me, he's been pretty much piss poor this season by his standards purely. When you get a name for being that good and a World Cup winner and how we've seen him play, then you are expected to play like that 9 times out of 10. Because no one can do it 10 times out of 10. Not even the best players ever could do it 10 out of 10. But you at least expect him 9 times, 8 times out of 10 even to be having a solid game. And he does make some stupid mistakes. I've seen him this season do some things that I'm just like, what are you actually doing? To me, his head just ain't there anymore. I think it's his body playing and not his bloody head. I think he is definitely looking elsewhere.
Maybe. I don't think it's easy. When you look at the way Spurs normally play, Romero and Mickey have got to cover the whole width of the pitch.
Oh, I get all that.
No other team asks their 2 centre-backs to cover the whole thing. So, you know, that's why we concede so many goals with the players we've got. But on Wednesday night, I thought Romero was terrific. Sort of summing up.
Okay, so now I go to the comical one. I mean, I even made a picture for it. Werner, Turbo Wiener. First come, first serve for that one.
He's shit. He's rubbish. Don't want him at the club.
I know.
Sell him. Get rid of him. Don't care if he scored. Big deal. He's in front of goal. All he's got to do is hit the target with a bit of power. The ball that Kulu crossed into the box, that generated all the power. All Werner had to do was connect and get it on target. If he connected with the ball, it would have either gone over the bar, wide, or in the back of the net. Right? All the power was generated from Kulu's cross. Honestly, you saw what Werner's about for the rest of the game. Shit passes, poor crosses, smashing the ball over, smashing the ball away. He's such an abysmal player. Yes, he gets in good places. Yes, he makes good runs, blah, blah, blah. It's like playing with 10 men. Honestly. He went down, I believe he went off injured, right? I think he went off injured. Yeah. Okay. I don't wish injury on anyone, but if he's out with injury for the next 3 months, I'm really not bothered. I'm not bothered. I'd rather Mikey Moore plays there every week and he actually develops into a player as an attacking player that he is. Odebert's back. I'd rather Odebert play. At least he's got a bit more technical ability. I just can't watch him play, Dan. It frustrates the hell out of me. I know if he goes I know if he's going to go one-on-one, he's going to be... As soon as he broke second half one-on-one, I said, he's going to miss it. He's going to miss it. He missed it. I'm not surprised. He had a chance to square a ball across kind of the middle of the box to players running in. And the weight of pass is wrong, or the accuracy of the pass is wrong. He's such a washed-out player. And the excuse is, he's low on confidence. No, he's low on ability. He's low on skill. He's low on technical attributes. He was good 5 years ago. Great. 5 years ago, we all had a lot more money in our pockets as well. Now we're all struggling, right? So life changes over time. You can't look back and say, "Oh, but back then I had hair. Back then the music was better." But no, Werner's not good anymore. It happened. It happens. We saw it happen with Vertonghen. Vertonghen sadly began to decline. Alderweireld slightly began to lose a bit of pace. Every player declines. I'm not speaking anymore. I don't like him as a football player. I want him out of my football club. It's not for me. And I'm not going to sit here and defend him just because he wears a Spurs shirt. Fuck that. I've got higher standards. I've got higher standards as a Spurs fan than Werner. Much higher standards.
Yeah. If you haven't, then you're part of the club's problem, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll say that to anybody. I don't care whether Ange liked him or not. I don't care whether fucking
play Richarlison left side. Play Richarlison left side. Play Lancashire. Shuffle the pack. Son's back. Play Son. There's always an option other than Werner. There's always an option other than Werner.
When you say that you're willing to put Richarlison there instead of him, that says everything for me. Yeah, I think he's fucking awful. But one of the things that really, really bugs me about the fella that much is, apart from the last third with the passing, crossing and finishing, I think he's got it. I think he's all right on the ball. He beats his man double as much as Johnson does. He's got more bollocks than Johnson to take his man on, and actually does it. But when it comes to the last bit, he's just absolutely shocking.
Can I add to that, Dan?
Go on.
He is probably the most frustrating player
ever
I've seen at Spurs for a very long time.
Because he's crap.
No, he's still. That's the thing. He's not crap. Stop. Let me caveat that by saying that I didn't want Werner to be re-signed because I didn't think he did enough last season.
You can have Archie Gray. You're not getting. Hang on. You're not defending Werner. You can have Archie Gray. There's no way I'm budging on Werner. Man.
Hold on. Just hear me out. Just hear what I've got to say.
No. Yes, Stel.
He beats his. What's frustrating is that he beats these fullbacks for fun. He runs into areas. He just kills them. They put balls in. You look at the ball. Hang on a second. You look at the runs he makes, and he just breezes past fullbacks. The way Johnson doesn't, and the way Sonny used to, but doesn't anymore. And what's frustrating is that he gets into these great positions. He's had five, 6 one-on-ones this season over 4 or 5 games, and he hasn't put one away. He didn't have to think about it on Wednesday. The ball came, he had to make a quick decision, bang, it was in the back of the net. I also think that Kulu possibly overhit the ball because Solanke was running on there, and it was overhit past Solanke. Werner came in and he buried it brilliantly. At the end of the day, let's be honest, he took the goal very, very well. All of us were in shock, but we all went up. It was like, blimey, was that Werner?
I don't even think I cheered, mate. I just sat back in my chair and was like, what the fuck?
If he can just start putting in the final ball or finish off these chances, he will be such an asset to us in the next few months.
Yeah, but we've been saying this all of last season. We're saying it all of this season.
Still,
he did the same thing at RB Leipzig for the last 3 years. It's why they got rid of him twice.
The problem is,
after 5 years, we are saying with this player, if only he could put a cross in. If he's done, why can't we accept that? Why can't we accept he's done? He's not that player.
Done.
No, the way I look at it is that he is a Spurs player, and I want all the Spurs players to do well. So Ange has got to get a tune out of him. Now, I agree with. I looked at it and I thought that.
Why didn't he keep Emerson Royale? Get a tune out of him. Why didn't he keep him?
No.
Answer that question. Why didn't he keep Emerson
Werner's done it at a level that Emerson hasn't still. Werner's done it at a level that Emerson hasn't. Werner's been at a level that
Emerson Royale's at Barcelona, bigger than any club Werner's been at.
They were laughing. They took 26. They stole 26 million from us.
Emerson was at a bigger club than Werner's ever been at. What are we doing here?
That's what I say.
Exactly. There's no.
He's the most frustrating player.
He's rubbish. That's why you're frustrated.
However you want to describe him. If Ange could only get a tune out of him, he will be an asset to Spurs.
So he should have kept.
If he
Get
can't,
a tune out of Dyer.
if he
Get a
can't,
tune out of Eric Dyer. Get a tune out of
Well,
Evan
hang on.
Get a tune out of Ben Davies. Get a tune out of Lamella. Why do you get a tune out of them? Because they're no good.
If you can't improve him between now and Christmas, you may as well bomb him out in January.
And
He's
Ian, can I ask you a question?
not going to improve.
Listen, for me, for me personally, I go and get Brian Mbuemo. Bring him in.
Why?
Different level altogether.
But hold on. Get a tune out of Werner, you're saying. But now you want to replace him.
No, I'm saying that if he can't get a tune out of him by the time the transfer window opens in January, then you got to look at it and you got to think to yourself,
okay, Ian,
if you can bomb him out and get someone else, I would. If you can't bomb him out, I don't know. Listen, he's behind Sonny.
These are excuses. These are excuses.
He's going to go at the end of the season anyway.
This is. That's what we said last season, right? Let me ask you a question. When we re-signed Werner, the day that it was announced, Werner's back at Spurs, what was your first initial thought when that happened?
I thought it was a shit decision.
Why?
Because he's shit.
Because for me,
what we're doing here.
Stel, what did he get? He scored 5 or scored 4.
Ian, why was it a shit decision?
And for me, last season, he scored and assisted, but it was why
did you think it was a shit decision?
Why? Because from what I saw with my own eyes last season, he didn't warrant another loan.
On what basis? Because what? He's not good. He's not good enough.
Wasn't consistent enough. Called it good enough. Whatever you want to call it, still, for me.
So why can't you just say he's not good enough now? Why can't we just say that now and leave it there? Instead, if we get a tune out of him,
I didn't say he becomes good. I said he is the most frustrating player because he burns fullbacks for pace. He gets into great positions. We both said, didn't we, coming home from Old Trafford, that Sonny wouldn't have got into those positions for the two 1v1s that Werner did. Sonny would have finished them. Werner blew it. But I don't know. It's not good. You're right. It's not good enough.
This is exactly why Tottenham Hotspur will never win a damn thing under Daniel Levy, because we as fans accept mediocrity. Our standards are there.
No one's accepting anything still.
It is because we justify and we make excuses and we try and pretend that Werner might come good. There's still hope.
No one's pretending anything.
This shit doesn't happen at City. It don't happen at Liverpool. It doesn't really happen at Arsenal anymore. But at Tottenham, we can't just say, what a crap player we've signed. My God, what have we done? How on earth are we going to win anything?
I'll see you later, mate.
We can't do it. The fact you said you'd taken Mbuemo, you know he's crap. You just don't want to say it publicly. Fair enough. If you don't say it publicly, I'll say it. He's crap. And Mbuemo is levels above Werner.
Totally.
So much better in every department. And Mbuemo, for me, takes us there. From Werner, it takes us there.
The way you got to look at it, I think, here, is...
By the way, everyone, I like Ian. We're friends. We chat almost every day. If anyone thinks I'm being harsh, I'm not.
Yeah, but what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch.
I think his thinking on Werner is terrible. Gray, you can have Gray. You can have the Gray argument. You can have it.
With Werner, I don't just get, but I understand what you're saying. He is actually a fucking frustrating player because he seems to be able to do a lot of what some of the other players can't do. But when it comes down to the crunching, he ain't fucking got it. Whether it's mentally, physically, I don't care what the reason is. He can't finish, he can't bloody pass, and he can't cross the ball. Now, you can look at...
1 assist and 1 goal all season.
He's the third highest paid player at the club.
Exactly.
What have we done?
Ian.
What have we done?
What I'm trying to say, Ian, is he ain't going to improve. He might get another goal or two, but he just ain't going to improve. He's too far in his career now, as far as I'm concerned, and I think his head is too totally washed. He's got to go. But it wasn't the worst game he had. And by standards, I must admit, I think that was luck as well, because I think he just put his foot out for it and hoped, which we've been saying he should do, sometimes just toe pump the bloody thing. I mean, and to get it with your side foot at the height he actually got it at, and especially being Werner, that could have gone left, right, or over, or at the goalkeeper. He scored the goal. We needed him to score the goal, but mate, he's shit. He is not good enough for what we need.
Dan,
I never said he was good enough for what we need. I'd love him to do well. You know, he goes on those runs. We want Johnson to do that. We want Sonny to do that. Sonny used to do it. We've got no one else there who gets those runs and goes into space and buries the fullbacks. We've got nobody else that does it, that has his pace.
Do you know
But
what?
when he's got nothing to deliver at the end of it, Ian, it counts for jack shit.
Of course, I understand that, and that's why it's frustration on my part, Dan, because he gets into these great positions and he just blows it, and that's the difference between winning and losing.
I want Ian to become part of the fan advisory board, right? I want Ian to be part of Fab. Do you know why?
Oh, Levy wouldn't have me, Dan. They don't even have me for the meetings still. They probably see my Twitter account. They won't have me anywhere near the
I disagree. I want Ian on the Fab. Shall I tell you why? Because deep down he's one of us. But in a room with the club, he'll be diplomatic enough to represent us, but to not be kicked out. So we've got someone on the inside. Right? Ian plays the game spot on. I want Ian as part of Fab. He's got the diplomacy required, but he's one of us. I'm gonna put Ian forward. If there's another round of ballot, I'm putting Ian forward. And I'm going to get everyone on Tottenham away to back Ian. Honestly.
Ian, right. It's a fair point, mate. One thing I do feel you have a bit much of is, there's nothing wrong with having hope in life. You need hope in life. Otherwise, you just get nowhere, especially being a Spurs supporter.
I'm telling you.
But I think you also have a little bit of sympathy. I mean, and there's all good being sympathy, if that's the word, or empathy, whatever way you want to fucking put it. I don't even use that other one. But it's shit. Just accept it, mate, and he ain't getting better. He is frustrating in the way that he does get in positions that Son can't, and he does do this and he does do that. But at the end of the day, there's hardly ever 99% of the time that anything will ever come from it, and he's shit and he's got to go. But I do get what you mean with the frustration, because he does actually do a couple of things where if he could finish or even could cross the ball, he could actually be a good player. But it ain't going to happen.
We need to find someone who can deliver a ball like, for argument's sake, Porro, with the pace of Werner, and we need to find a winger like, and it's probably Bueno. For me, he's the best one out there who knows the Premier League, is proven in the Premier League, is still young enough to cut it, and to give us several years. For me, that's who I'd buy. Go and buy him. We didn't need to spend the money on Johnson and Odebear, which is, I don't know, 75 million.
You mean Gray and Odebear? No,
I'm talking about wingers. I'm talking about Johnson and Odebear. We should have just gone and bought Bueno from Brentford. End of. For winger.
But I think Werner Way was on, you could say he had a respectful game. He's still shit, and it ain't going to change. Well, by his standards, you could say he had a fucking world-class game, really. If you're going to be honest.
Dan,
if we want to go to a player by his standards, you could say he's world-class. He should have had an hat-trick.
Dan, we could have tried. We could have tried to get Eze's and Buemo's, Neto's, Rafinha's. All of them are flourishing. Maybe not Eze so much, but I think Crystal Palace, eventually they will get there. I think they're beginning to turn a little corner. Instead, we got Odebear's, Johnson's, Werner's.
I mean, this message here, I mean, three-legged dog. You've said a few things on here that I must admit I agree with pretty much most of what you said, but this one, mate, no. Werner is better than Mikey Moore at this stage. Now, I get what you mean by saying at this stage. I get what he's trying to get at there, yeah.
Dan, better at what?
But it's the last bit. Werner can improve if right mental attitude.
Oh, my God.
We could all improve at things with the right mental attitude. Werner, go suck his brain out his head and put a fucking AI thing in there and do FIFA with it. He'd improve. That is how poor the man is. Whatever way you want to put it. He's done. He's dusted. He's over. But go on, Stel. I'll take it you want to say on that one with is he actually better than Mikey Moore?
I've got nothing to say. This is just further evidence of an acceptance of mediocrity, a tolerance towards failure. That comment is why Spurs are Spursy. All our rival fans, all our rival fan shows, most of our fan base can see what Werner really is. But whilst we've got fans that say things like that, we're finished. We will never, ever, ever, we will never be a successful football club until the fan base changes its mindset. We must demand quality football players. We spent £1 billion to build a stadium of the finest level on this planet. There is hardly any stadiums better than the Hotspur Stadium. We've got financial powers, FFP clout, PSR clout, like most clubs dreamt of having.
We said this earlier. You're right.
So
it's true.
Was that to buy Werner? Or was that to really compete?
Now,
so,
with just a player Ellie mentioned here, Rafinha,
if we accept
I would have
Werner,
took him all day long.
We're finished.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but still, a lot of people at Spurs were saying that Rafinha ain't good enough when we could have gone for him.
Yeah, because we never got him. If we'd got him, they'd say generational
That's
star.
what I said about Eze. You're right.
We go whichever way the wind goes. If the wind goes here, brilliant. If the wind goes there, brilliant. We're just incapable of just making an assessment or judgment, saying, right, this is where I'm at with it, and I'm going to stick with it. But we change. We change month by month, game to game. The day we signed Werner, I said, my God, we're finished. This is all Ange out. Right? I've stuck by that. The day we signed Odeberts and Grays and Bergville, I said, what are we doing here? What kind of plan is this? We needed Netos and Ezes and Tonys and maybe not Gallagher, but he's a work engine, I guess. We needed quality. This club has been crying out for quality level players for years, man. Since Poch, we've been crying out for quality to be signed by this club. Instead, we sign players we hope become quality, or players that might become quality, or players that are for the future, or if they can be coached a bit, or potential. Well, after the days of just signing players that, you know what, we signed Van der Ven. Within about a month, we said, what a player we've signed. What a player we've signed. Okay? Other than him, who have we said that about? Other than Van der Ven, who have we said that about in the last 3-4 years? And then when we don't win trophies, when we don't get back into the top four, which we've stopped doing now, when we're currently 8th or 9th, people wonder why. Until this club has a transfer policy that matches what the teams that win trophies have, I don't get it. And that's why I'm Levy out, Dan. That's why it always comes back to Levy with me. Everything always comes back to him because he's the one that doesn't want to go down that road, because it doesn't matter who the manager is. It doesn't matter who the director is. It's the same pattern. We follow this same formula in the transfer window. But look, I'm not going to go into Levy because
No. Hang on a second, yeah. You mentioned
Werner is symbolic of this. Werner is symbolic of this problem. And fans who get on board with Werner and defend it and say, oh, but he'll come good and all this shit, you are part of the problem. And fans get really upset when I say that, but it's the truth, man.
If you want Werner to be at your club, whether you're a manager or supporter, you're a problem as far as I'm concerned. But call it opinion, to me, that's a fact.
At least Archie Gray, I can concede. I can hold my hands up and say he's got a chance of developing into a top player because he's got potential. Young. He's got a lot to learn, a lot to experience, he might have Ange might get fired, and in comes a top manager that grabs Gray, plays him as a 6 and turns him into a superstar. Maybe Gray leaves Tottenham, goes to another club and becomes a superstar. Whatever. The boy's got a future. Werner is coming towards the end of his career. Yeah. This it's mental. It's nuts what we do at this club.
Still, it's 13 million for 18 months. That's why Werner's at the club.
Yeah, I know.
That's his wages, no transfer fee. That's what it's cost the club for 18 months, 13 million.
Ian, that's 13 million.
There's your answer. Ian. Instead of going out and buying Bueno, that's the problem.
We know this, but Ian, that could have been 13 million that could have bought on better fucking water fountains or toilets at fucking Spurs, as far as I'm concerned.
I do hope, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, I do hope still I come onto your show Sunday night and Werner's destroyed Matty Cash and Spurs have beaten Villa.
Yeah, but everyone wants him to win, yeah? Same as we want Spurs to win and Gray to do good and everything else. But the question is he good enough?
Lose to them?
No. But the question I want to ask you then, quick still, going back on things a bit before I go back to the players, it was something you mentioned. Now, I just want to see your opinion on it. That's all, yeah? Because me and Ian had a chat about it. I said my ideal dream at Spurs for the way for it to go would not be to lose Levy. If I had it my ideal way, I'd want Joe Lewis obviously bought out. Fella takes control of the club and says, right, I'm going to deal with everything to do with the money on football, everything to do with football. Levy, you're never going to speak to an agent again. You're never going to do shit again. But Levy, I want you to stay here for the business side of things, i.e. getting the things done off the pitch and everything else. What would you see that, or would you just rather him totally gone?
Totally gone. He's a bigger problem than Lewis. Because at the end of the day, he runs the business.
Lewis lets him be the boss, doesn't he? Lewis lets him be the boss, totally.
Yeah.
I think, Dan, I think when it comes to signing off the very big transfers, I mean, I was told about 2 or 3 years ago that Levy had sanctioned a 60 million transfer. I don't know who it was. And Lewis put the kibosh on it. My own personal feeling was it may have been Zaha about 3 years ago, but nobody would ever confirm it. And that was from one person. It's completely unconfirmed. I don't know whether whether what the guy told me was correct, but I get it because, you know, if Lewis is 71% and Levy's 29%, and there's a transfer deal that's big money, then you would expect the senior shareholder to sign it off.
Dan, I don't want him at the club. I don't want Levy near this football club because he has turned us into something we're not. He's turned us into something that is far from football. And it's everything. It's from allowing red on the kit. It's from not having one stand, not even a single tier named after Bill Nicholson or Keith Birkinshaw. There's no statues. There's this. He constantly has beef with ex-legends. Like Glenn Hoddle's just come out and had a go at him. There's clearly a problem between them. I saw that. There's clearly something that's happened between them, right? He doesn't. You know, we had to do a campaign as fans for David Pleat to be able to sell his book in the shop for charity. But what the fuck is this about, right?
Yeah.
Ian summed it up the best. He summed it up the best the other night. He has sucked the soul out of Tottenham Hotspur. That is all on Levy. He has sucked the soul out of the club. And I want a complete reset. I would love new owners, a new board of directors, a new chairman, a new culture, a new vision, a new vibe, a new direction. They've got the stadium, they've got the training ground, they've got the club's in good financial position. They've got a half decent squad. There is a nucleus, a strong building block for a different type of owner to come in and say, do you know what? There used to be a football club here. I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to make my money at the same time. I can do both. Mm-hmm. We've got an owner and a chairman that is, how can I make my money? How do I make my money, but do just enough to keep the customers on board that facilitate me making my money? Because I can't lose my customers. So I've just got to do enough to keep the customers here, but it's about making my money. This is the ownership and chairman we've got. And all the directors are totally part of what Levy wants.
Yeah.
You cannot have a club that wins one trophy in 25 years, but yet the owners of Leicester come in and in 10 years win an FA Cup, Charity Shield, Premier League. The owners of Liverpool come in, they win the lot. Stan Kroenke has been the actual owner of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So Stan Kroenke has been the owner of Arsenal outright for 5 years, 6 years maybe. He was a shareholder. Now, since he became the outright owner, they've won an FA Cup and they are title contenders every single season. That took him 5 years. We've got an ownership that's been here longer than any other Premier League ownership, longer than any other ownership in the history of Tottenham, and they have delivered the least of any big club. Less than what Leicester did in 10 years, less than what Liverpool did with their owners in 10 years, less than what Kroenke's done in 5 years. Nobody with a brain cell or honest bone in their body can defend what this ownership has done when you compare them to the rest. You cannot. And to simply say, look at our stadium, fuck the stadium. I don't care about the stadium anymore. The honeymoon's over with that stadium. The football. And now we're looking for investors to come in so we can build more property development so that we can launch an NFL franchise. This lady that was at Newcastle, I forgot her name. She's not going to come to Spurs, drop £600 million
Reminder, Ian.
So we can build a football team.
Clothes on the drying rack. You have to cover them and turn them on. Because I just went in and it was all cold.
You've muted me.
Yeah, wrong one. Sorry, wrong one.
That's all right. Like no ownership in their right mind is going to say, yeah, I'll come and buy a stake in Tottenham. They're 600 million pounds. Can we fix the football team? No, they're going to come and say, right, how do I get value for that money? Because if I put 600 million in the bank, let's say I get 7% return on a high yield bond, or I put it in the S&P 500, 7% on 600 million is what? It's about 50 million, 45 million pound a year.
42.
So I want at least 42, right? I want at least that back if I put 600 into Spurs. Well, how are you going to get that back? We've got to launch an NFL franchise. We've got to build more property development that's going to give us passive income through the rentals or by selling off what we build. They're not going to come in to fix the football team. It's too risky. The competition's too great. You need a complete outright owner that's going to come in and say, I'm here for the football, but I know I can make money at the same time. But it's got to be my way, a new way, and no one else's way. So that's where I'm at with
Not
the argument of I want Levy to stay. I'm like, no chance.
Do you know what?
No chance. Not for me. I want him out.
I'll make you right. If you're going to do it, then just do it fucking properly and get him out. It's just the thing on the back of my mind is just, would he just actually be good owning 18% of the club and just being told that you're only dealing with business? But no, do you know what, mate? You're right. Just get him out. Like I say, you never know what happens overnight. Life can be.
Dan, we could end up with a terrible owner. That's possible. I'm not oblivious to the fact that we could.
I'm willing to take that risk, mate. I'm willing to take it.
But what do you want? Do you want the potential of an amazing owner, the risk of a bad owner, or business as usual? Business as usual has been. I've never seen Spurs fans like this in all my life. What Levy's done to our fan base, I've never seen this. I've never experienced this. Maybe Ian hasn't because he's seen us longer. But I mean, Ian, have you ever seen our fans like this ever before? The way we are.
I think there's a definite split. I can't generalise and say 100%. Obviously, sorry, I can't say 100%. But I would say there's a split in attitude between younger fans who haven't seen the great nights that I've seen, haven't seen the Greaves, the Klinsmans, the Hoddles, the Gascoignes, the Ardiles, and the Ricky Villa Cup final, etc. Gaza at Wembley with the free. They haven't seen any of this. They're used to the older fans like myself are used to football when it was football. Now it's just business. So they've been grown up, and they've grown up in a football business environment, and I think it's very different how the younger generation see the club than how older fans like me feel. And for me, I said the other night, I think ENIC have sucked they've sucked the soul out of this club. Life is about memories, moments, experiences, and we have stood there and we have watched fans of the other 5 big clubs have all these fantastic moments, memories and experiences since ENIC came in. Apart from Leicester a couple of times, Portsmouth, Wigan, Swansea, the big 5 clubs have basically monopolised the 3 domestic trophies, and a few of them have gone on and won European trophies as well. And we've had 1 trophy in 24 years. Think about it, 1 trophy. If Levy was an employee, Levy would sack Levy.
Now look at it this way, yeah. Let's try and be a bit more positive about this. I mean, realistically, yeah. I mean, one thing you can give credit for is that he's been consistent.
Underachieving. That's what he's been consistent at, Dan.
He's consistent at failure, Dan. Consistently
exactly.
failed.
That was the point that I was basically making.
Oh, right. Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I agree.
It was a sarcastic comment. I was just wondering how long it'd take someone to clock it. Yeah, he's been.
It's because you did it with a poker face.
Well, poker is one of my favourite games, and picture says it all.
Dan, can I just answer the 3-legged dogs post that's up on the screen now?
Yeah, go on.
I think you have to understand history to know where you are now. And I think it's important that people understand the history of the club and what's made this club what it is today, where it was and where it is now. Dan, can you just flick back Three-Legged Dog's post that was just up there?
Sorry, go on.
Our club is in the most exciting time for potential than any other club on and off the field.
Nope.
In terms of selling the club, it's the best turnkey operation that any buyer looking to buy a Premier League club can have. The ground's done.
I can agree.
The training ground's done. Squad's not bad. Is there? It's not a terrible squad. It's an okay squad. We don't have the great players that we've had over the years. We've got good players. They're not level one players because the club don't compete for level one players anymore. Maybe Romero, in terms of when you look at defenders in the when you look at world defenders, Romero's up there. But I don't think we've got anybody else.
You don't have to go into the old squad about it and everything and that. But basically, we're better.
We need new owners. We've got to get new owners.
We said that earlier.
We've got to get new owners who want to be in the game. They want to compete. No guarantee to win trophies. Just be in the game.
No, Ian, I disagree. No, I disagree. We don't need new owners. We need new fan base. That's first of all. We need a new fan base. We need fan base that can create standards, and we don't have that. Before it starts with the owners, it needs to start with the fan base. Set goals. Do not tell yourself to accept mediocrity. I know you like Archie Gray, but after that summer, I would have been pissed. I'm not going after Archie Gray. I just we have to raise the standards by ready-made, by world-class players. That's what I'm asking. I don't want to buy potential. I'm tired of potential. If this fan base doesn't agree and we coexist together, we're never going to win. And we're never going to get rid of those owners.
I think to say the club's in the best potential it's been forever is an absolute lie. It's insane, because the best potential we had was when we had Pochettino's team, which was dynamite. When we had the two best forwards in Premier League history, fact, they are the best partnership ever, goals and assists combined. When we had Pochettino's team, that was the best potential. Had we have built on that, we would have been the best. We could have been the best team this club has ever seen in the entire history. So to say now's the best potential, no. I know you don't like the past because you're scared of facts, but Pochettino's team, fact, was the best Premier League team we've ever had. No other Spurs team.
That's a lie.
No, Detrex. No other Spurs team in Premier League history, Premier League, competed for the Premier League other than Poch's team.
We didn't compete for the Premier League. That's a lie, once again.
Don't be silly. We came second.
No, it's a lie.
No, it's not a lie. We competed and we fell short.
What's your definition of compete? So everyone can understand. What's your definition of compete?
If you're in the top three teams.
No, that's not compete. Compete is you go head to head until the last 3 weeks or 4 games of. No, that's No. Teams fall off 1 week before the end, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But if they're there or thereabouts coming to the business end, you are in the competition to win it. Bro, right? We lost. Yeah, the only team we lost against Chelsea.
No, don't derail me. I'm going to finish what I'm going to say, then you can question it after. Right? We're the only team ever in Premier League history for Spurs to have actually competed for the Champions League and get to a final or get to quarterfinals, semi-finals, right? We got to semi-finals, we got to the odd final. Poch's team, everyone was talking about them. Europe, the Premier League, they were excited by us. That was the team to build on. Levy sabotaged it all. He fucked the whole thing up. And ever since then, we've been chasing our tails and got nowhere. Now we've got Ange. We're hoping he might replicate what Poch gave us and go the next step. The problem is, and this is why when people say best potential now, if we had the best potential now, we wouldn't be ninth in the league. You wouldn't see managers like Herzler, Nuno, Maresca, younger, less experience, less time in the Premier League, doing better than us right now. You wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see Tottenham signing Werners and kids that we hope come good. A striker that doesn't score goals. Potential means fuck all unless you fulfill it. And to fulfill it, we must change our weight, which means proper ownership, proper leadership at the top, and a proper transfer policy that delivers success. What I'm seeing now is a repetition of everything I've seen for the last 25 years of this ownership. I'm not seeing anything now that I haven't seen before. Nothing. So this thing about potential means nothing. If the formula is the same, the answer will be the same. We need a new formula, a different equation that gives us new answers. Right now, I'm seeing the same formula as before. And I said it as soon as we made these signings in the summer. I don't know what we've done here. I said that. I don't know what we've done here. This doesn't make sense to me. And you're seeing it. We're a mid-table team at the moment in the league. God forbid, right? If we don't beat Aston Villa, we could be anywhere between 10th and 14th after 10 games. What a drop-off from last season, people. Right? We must beat Villa. If we don't beat Villa, we are going to be 10th to 14th, depending on the results around us. Imagine Spurs are 14th after 10 games, guys. There's going to be a meltdown in this club. So
that's where Poch was still when he got sacked.
Exactly.
So Nuno was when he got sacked. Juan de Ramos, all of them. So even if we draw, Ian, even if we draw, we could be 10th. But potential, when the best potential we've ever been, it's madness. It's crazy. It's illogical. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense what people are saying. I don't get it.
So go on, Detrex, you had a point with that.
No, I just said like Stelios is just chatting nonsense, saying we challenged for the league twice. Like that's just a lie.
How is
Imagine
it like...
Leicester finish on 81 points. We finish on 70. How is that a challenge?
Because when we see again, what you do is you take context out of your thinking. When we lost, when we drew the Battle of Stamford Bridge 2-2, there were still 4 games to go.
No,
right?
Stop.
Hang on, let him finish.
No, let me just put you right on that. West Brom we drew at home when one of I think Dembele got injured. One of them got injured.
Yeah,
we drew West Brom. We drew with Chelsea. I think we lost on the Saturday at home, didn't we? So there was someone, and then we lost to Newcastle 5-1. We dropped 10 points from the last 4 games. We finished 11 points, I think, behind Leicester. If we'd have won those 4 games, we'd have missed the league by 1 point.
Ian, as I was saying, right, when we played Chelsea and we drew 2-2, that night it was official we couldn't catch Leicester. So the next 4 games, we checked out. We couldn't compete anymore because Leicester won the league that day and we weren't 11 points behind them, Detrex. The day it became official mathematically, we couldn't win the league, we switched off. So the gap widened because we couldn't do anything after that.
It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter. It does.
No, it does.
Because Detrex, what you're doing is you're just trying to create an argument for the sake of it.
Detrex, I'm with him.
To say Tottenham didn't challenge the league title, right, is madness. If you said to me, if you came on and said, Stel, you never led the league, we were never leading it, I'd say spot on. We were never leading, right?
No, but that's
we were knocking on the door. We were challenging.
No, knocking on the door is not challenge.
If we beat Chelsea, it would have gone to the last 4 games. But we didn't. And that's when the title ended. Just like the day when Arsenal were leading the league. As soon as they didn't Arsenal finish 7 points off Man City when they lost the league? Does that mean they didn't challenge? Of course they did. But once it was mathematically done, once they were mathematically done, teams check out. What have you got to play for?
No,
you've got top 4. You can't win the league. Fuck it, we're on holiday.
No, that's but I'm saying, for me, my definition of challenge is you go head to head. Like the team has to look behind their shoulders. Leicester were never worried against us.
What do you mean? We were singing, "We're coming for you, we're coming for you," and then Leicester City, to banter us back, the day that we mathematically couldn't win, they held up banners saying "Mind the gap." What are you talking about, Detrex?
No,
what are you doing?
No. Detrex, hang on.
I don't think it's point here.
Hang on here.
One fact. We lost 1-0 to West Ham at Upton Park on Wednesday, March 3rd. Unfortunately, I think Dembele was missing and he rotated and he took Walker and Rose out and he put Tripper and Davis in. And if we'd have won at Upton Park that day, we'd have been top. And that was the closest we came to being top the whole season. So, yes, we were challenging. We were there. Unfortunately, we drew with, we lost to West Ham that night. And then we drew with Arsenal at home on Saturday 2-2. And Leicester, after that, stayed at the top. They carried on winning. And we were close, but but not as close as that moment. But it took till, I think, the second or third last game of the season. I think Leicester was 7 clear then, and we had 2 games left. Or 5 clear, whatever it was.
Ian, even the season Chelsea won the league with Conte, go back and there's video footage on YouTube where Conte says, the only team I'm worried about that could catch us or beat us to it is
we had 86 points.
We came second that season to Conte.
I know.
We challenged them, but they were better.
Yeah.
They had a better manager and they beat us. It is what it is.
Yes, Arsenal did have 10 men that day, but we drew 2-2.
Because, no, actually, when I think about it, if you told me... You make a fair point. With Chelsea, when they won the league, yeah, we did challenge. I'll make it fair. But Leicester, I don't feel it was a challenge.
No, hold on. You said I'm a liar because we
No.
Now you're saying fair point. So
No, fair point. No. Actually, fair point. When I think about it, yeah, we did challenge against Chelsea.
Thank you.
But Leicester, I don't feel it's a challenge. It was more like everyone was going at it, and then we gave up at the end. But a challenge for me is like until the end of the season, you go head to head.
So let me get this right. For you, no one's challenged for a league title unless the last game of the season you're still in it.
No, the last 2 games, 3 games, that's when like everyone.
Well, we were there to the last 4, Detrex.
Yeah, come on, man.
No, 4 games, but
you can't. That's not how it works.
Because I feel like Leicester we were never gonna catch them, but Chelsea, I felt like it was possible.
If we beat Chelsea, if we were 2-0 up at Stamford Bridge, had we have won that game, the pressure's back on Leicester now. Like, what's your response? That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Keep the pressure on and see what happens. But
it is always buts and maybes. But I do feel that Leicester one, when it got to the point that we just couldn't catch them and Chelsea screwed us that day, good and proper. I remember watching that in the pub. Nearly lost my glass. When they got that second goal, when Hazard just came on and totally
I remember
wiped the floor with us in every which way.
Dan, you know
we
that
were
game,
challenging until then.
You know that game, right? I was more upset, more fucked off that Chelsea stopped us than us not winning the league. It's the fact it was them. If that was Southampton or we messed up against, I don't know, Liverpool, I would have been, do you know what? I'm gutted, man. Gutted. I really thought we could have won the league. But at Stamford Bridge in front of their fans against Chelsea and we were 2-0 up. That was that
hurt. That hurt. No 2 ways about it. That hurt. Mate. I literally had my mate stand in front of me because he saw exactly what I wanted to do when they put that second goal in there. That I won't deny it. That hurt.
2-0 up at Stamford Bridge. Unthinkable. Unheard of.
Either way, the Detrex, for me, challenging is when you can go into the last 4 or 5 games, I would say, and you're still running it and you're still on them. I mean, you look at the past 2 seasons. Would you say Arsenal have challenged Man City?
Well, last season, that's the pure definition of challenge. One was first, the other one was second, then it changed. That's legit the definition of challenge.
What would you say the season before? Because they were still in it up until that game with City, weren't they?
The season before, which one was it again? 23-24? No, 22-23.
Yeah. Where they finished second.
I'll call it challenge too, yeah.
Okay, so
it wasn't a big gap.
4 games.
It wasn't a big gap between them.
It wasn't a massive gap between us and Leicester.
No.
We could have caught that if we would have won that game with Chelsea, and then it would have put more pressure on them. It's basically saying exactly the same. If Arsenal wouldn't have lost to City, they could have run them down.
Because if I'm not mistaken, when we challenged Leicester, didn't we go on like a 5 game in January or February? Like we didn't win the game. It was a draw, and a loss.
Because I
remember correctly, we went on a slump. And usually when you challenge, you never go on a slump. Maybe you might lose the out game or draw the out game, but we legit went on a slump and Leicester took off in January.
You know the season Leicester won the league. A lot of fans hate hearing this, but it is a fact. Okay, Leicester City played 45 games that season, or 43, because they crashed out of all the cups and they weren't in Europe. We played over 60 games that season, 15 or 16 more games than them because we were in the cups, we were in Europe. They just focused on the league every single week, whereas we had to rotate. We lost
like Chelsea have done before. I think it was that season that he won it with Conte, wasn't it? They only had really the league and a couple of cups. They didn't have Europe, did they?
Yeah, because they finished eighth that season. Yeah, right. We lost Ericsson for 4 weeks. We lost Vertonghen for 3 weeks. We lost Toby for 4 weeks. We lost Kane for a period of that season. We lost key players for significant time at different moments of the season, and the bench was awful. Leicester never lost Vardy that season. They never lost N'Golo Kante. They never lost Hoof.
Mahrez.
They never lost Mahrez. They never lost Schmeichel. They didn't lose any of their big guns at any point in that season. I think one of them got suspended for a game or something. Everything went Leicester's way that season, and everything was against us. The fact we were even there to the last 4 games, honestly, man. Honestly, like... But it doesn't matter when I say these things, because at the end of the day, the football world will say Spurs bottled it, Leicester won it, and you can't argue it. That's like, what's the point of me talking about the context? Because history will say Leicester won the league, and that's all people will ever care about.
You can't say we bottled because we were never first. Arsenal bottled when they were first and finished second. That's the definition of bottle.
I get where you're going, Detrex, but at the end of the day, we did give them a run for their money, as far as I'm concerned.
No, you can say that.
I think Queen Ellie says it perfectly. It weren't even Chelsea that done us; it was fucking Eden Hazard, mate. When he just totally tore us to pieces that game. Absolutely.
I know you want to move on, but just quickly on that game, we inflicted that problem on us when we started fighting with Chelsea. That's when the game changed completely.
Yeah, Spurs lost their head second half. Fully agree.
Yeah, when they lost their head, that's
we did.
It wasn't even Hazard.
Yeah, but Hazard did cook us. He did.
Yeah, he did, but...
I think the whole thing, Detrex, was going on from the first half. I mean, if you remember, did Danny Rose take out the right winger? I think Rose took someone out.
Rose fought Willian, I remember. Then Lamela stepped on Fabregas' arm. Dembele, I think, poked Costa in the eye.
What Dyer did to someone on the pit when there was a foul. Jesus.
Yeah, it was.
Either way, we lost our head that game, and Hazard run all round us. I just want to say a big thanks to.
Go on then, sorry.
Mate, I'll just call you London, mate. London boy, if I read that right. Like I say, my pronunciation is absolutely terrible. Much appreciated.
Dan, that fight that we got into with Chelsea that day, I would love to see a Tottenham team capable of having that fight with a team in the Premier League. To have that,
but those fights don't exist.
Well, you say that, but it got spicy at the Etihad between Arsenal and them this season. I would love to see a Spurs team built with players that can have it out with another team if we get into those scenarios. Because you saw against Crystal Palace. They put it on us and we just shat ourselves. Complete bunch of weakness across the field. That Pochettino team would have grabbed Palace by the neck and thrown them on the ground and said, "You ain't doing that."
Yeah,
that's not how this game goes down. I love Spurs teams that can put up a fight because I think it shows something about us which we lack nowadays.
I love fights,
someone who goes walking off the pitch, basically.
No, I get it. I love fights, but the issue now with VAR, if there was VAR during that game, we probably have 3 red cards easily.
So would they?
No, but we inflicted that.
They put someone else as well, Detrex.
Do you remember when Lamela stepped on his hand?
Good.
Like it wasn't
good. Listen.
That's a red card, man.
I like a bit of that. I like a bit of that.
With VR, you're not getting away with that shit.
Yeah, you're not getting away. That's the problem.
All right, doesn't have to be as aggressive as that. But my point is, I like Spurs teams that have got that physical fight in them if you need to call upon it, because we needed that against Crystal Palace. And what did we do? We just let them bully us. We lost every 50-50 battle against Palace.
Yeah.
We were dog shit. I like a Spurs team that says, you know what? No, we're going to push back, and we're going to push back a bit harder than what you're pushing us. Send the message. Establish your dominance in that game.
But that will never happen we just buy kids now. Like kids, they don't fight.
That's a different conversation.
I don't know. Do you know what? You say that. I don't want to go into the conversation, but you say that, Detrex. I would have thought it's more likely kids that would fight. And when I say kids, I mean 18-year-olds and that. I would have thought it's more them that would be up for the fight.
No, but would you see Bergvall getting into a fight, Papessar, like I mean, those or Brennan Johnson? They would never fight.
Oh, I get what you mean, but the other thing is when you're on a pitch as well, you've got that defence, haven't you? I mean, no, it's very rarely that someone's going to headbutt you in the face and totally destroy your nose, or someone's going to punch you up the head because of the VRR. So really, on the pitch, you've got that excuse to give it all the mouth you want and square up to what you want. And if you get touched, they're the ones who cop it. So it's like what I've said with other things. This is one thing I'll go to quickly that does bug me, and I will go back to the players then since we drifted so much. When several times I can count now that I've seen where it actually looks like the other player is just about to, let's say, commit a crime and touch one of our players, like slap him in the face or whatever. And one of our players goes and stands in the middle of it and says, don't let it happen. It pisses me right off because I think just let him slap your mate in the face, for God's sake. It's only a slap in the face and he's going to get sent off. Why stop it happening? But that is another thing we do seem to be prime at. When the other one's about to do something to us, we get in the middle and tell him not to bloody do it. Whereas me, I'd stand back and I'd want my mate to get the slap in the face.
No,
At
but
least the other player gets sent off.
No, but with you it's different because like you would not defend it. You would just start laughing in the like if we were playing for Spurs, you would laugh. Like you were not here to defend, but it's a good thing that the players come between the fights just to protect our player from not doing something stupid.
I come across what you're saying, yeah, but there's been many a times where it's been blatantly the other one who's going to do it, and we step in the middle as well. But that's different. So, right, I've gone through a few of the players. Still got a little bit of time before I have to leave. And right, Kulusevski. What do you three think on the game he had the other night?
Superb.
World class.
Absolutely superb Wednesday night. He was terrific. 2 assists, and he was our best player. Him along with Dragerson for me. Those are the best two. He's been our best player this season up to now, for me.
Wait, sorry, he had 2 assists.
I thought his all-round game, Detrex, was first class.
No, it was, but I don't remember him.
And the 2 assists with the cream on the.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
He did because
Yeah, he did.
what was it? He was the reason that basically Sarr got his shot clean on goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The only criticism, like, of course he had a great game, no two ways about it. But my main criticism was he had a chance to pass it, then took a weak shot. Like those are the kind of opportunities you have to capitalize. It could have been 3-1, but like he got selfish.
Okay. But, Detrex, they're all human beings, these footballers. They're not perfect.
No, we have to be perfect against the top.
You're never going to get perfection. Man City's pass rate is not 100% every day. Players give the ball away.
No, but us, we're not in a position where we cannot be perfect. You have to be perfect in the final third. You have to. Because that's why we never beat a top 10 team.
Well,
that's the main reason.
Harry Kane didn't score from every shot he had. How can you be perfect?
No, I'm saying like capitalize, like at least make the right decision. I'm just saying like, of course, when we have Werner, I don't expect him to score, but Kulusevski in that position, you should have made the pass.
All right, Detrex, if you made 25 decisions, you got one wrong. He got one wrong.
No, it's fine, but
he's still our best player on Wednesday night.
No, but just like it's a recurrent event. Every time against the top 10 teams, he always makes a wrong decision.
Okay.
Like once in a while, it's okay.
Wednesday night here. With Dan asked about Wednesday night Kulusevski. Thought we had a superb game.
I thought he was good, but superb. No, but this is it.
No, I thought he had a very good game. I wouldn't give him a 10 out of 10, but
yeah,
for the way he played, I'd definitely give him like an 8 or 9 sort of thing, possibly a 9 because he did bring them goals up. I think he had a solid game, but again, to me, it was fucking frustrating. And because through this season, we've seen him play significantly better in the middle than he has on the right. Do I think he's been as special as people say? No, I don't. But I think he gets that much more notice just at the moment because he has been that poor on the right-hand side too many times. And we can see he is a significantly better player in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep, it took a long time for the manager and other people to see it, but he's better in the middle. Period. End of. And I think he had a good game. He was definitely man of the match. I mean, Detrex, Stel, what do you two think on that?
Which player was that? Sorry, Dan?
Kulusevski.
I think he's having a really good season. He's showing us the player that he was when we first signed him, when he first came to Spurs under Conte. However, he's great when things are going well. I want to see what he does when things aren't going well, because he goes missing in all of those games. Second half of Brighton went missing.
No, it's still. He was the only one that kept running at Brighton. The only one. He kept going right to the end. The rest of them wasted space. I thought he was the only one.
It's good they kept running. He created nothing and scored none. So,
can't do it on his own, can he? They were hopeless second half.
He kept running.
He kept working. He kept trying. The rest of them gave up. They switched off. They zoned out.
Against Arsenal, 1-0 down, nothing. Against Newcastle, when we needed inspiration, we needed a moment of something, nothing. Against Crystal Palace, when it's all going wrong, can't step up, can't stand out amongst the crowd and show us something. So Kulu's brilliant when it's going well. He's proven to me that when the chips are down, he's not that player yet. Now, if he can change that part of his game, I'll change my views on Kulu. So when people say Kulu's amazing, Kulu's brilliant, we're cherry picking. The best players, the ones that are real top stuff, are the ones that do it in good times and bad times. And I have not seen that from Kulu. I haven't seen that from any Spurs midfielder, so I'm not just going to dump it on Kulu. I haven't seen Bentancur, Maddison, Sarr, Bissouma, any of these midfielders step up in those moments this season. So, yeah, I think when things are going well, Kulu's brilliant. That pass to Werner was sensational. Absolute class. The weight of the ball to bypass the centre-back and swing it round Solanke. He meant that to go to Werner, by the way. He meant that to go to Werner. I think Kulu this year has been a really, really, really good player when things are going our way and things are going well. But when the chips are down, he goes missing. So,
like the rest of our team, basically.
Yeah, along with the rest of the team. But then the best players, like how many times were we down and we needed something and Bale popped up with something? Harry Kane popped up with something. That's why they're top players.
Exactly. So you're looking at, we got players nowhere near those two.
Even Dele Alli was available at doing that sometimes. Even he used to be capable of doing that.
Yeah, but Ian, that's my point. The way we have hyped Kulu, it just needs to rein it in a bit, right? Let's just say he's having a good season. He's a good player, but that is it. But I think that's so many fans have said top player, brilliant, amazing. There's channels doing videos, best Premier League midfielder. It's insane. We don't learn. We're getting carried away. He's having a good season. I need to see him do it when the chips are down. The chips were never down against West Ham. We were on top of them for most of the game. West Ham were never going to win that game. I predicted before that game we'd beat them 4-1. So people use the West Hammers, but the chips were down against West Ham. No, they weren't. We were always going to beat them. The chips are down when you're in a game and you can see Spurs are wobbling. We're not playing well. We were always playing well against West Ham. Against Brighton second half, we weren't playing well. Against Arsenal, we just couldn't unlock the door. Against Newcastle, when they went 2-1 up, what did we offer back? Nothing. Against Crystal Palace, we were poor the whole game. No one inspired us. No one changed the game. So I'm looking at those moments where players can do something for us. And Kulu hasn't done that for me this season. I'm just being honest. I don't hate Kulu, people. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player.
I think still part of, you mentioned Brighton and Palace. I think the early, I think he's got stronger as the season's as we've got into the season. I think he's getting better and better, personally. He started pre-season, I thought he was our best player. Unfortunately, I don't think, there aren't too many players this season that one can say he's been consistently good. It's been very up and down, hasn't it? The season hasn't really taken off yet. I'm hoping that Wednesday night will kickstart it. And we can go on and get a good result against Villa.
Ian, that midweek performance against Man City is not going to kickstart shit, right?
We'll see. Let's see.
You said the same thing against Man United. When we beat them 3-0, that should kickstart the season. Then look what happened. Then we beat West Ham, right? That should kickstart us. It happened again. That Man City game, do you know what scares me about that Man City game that we won? It's masking over the reality. It's covering it up again, because that was not a Man City team that Pep would ever field in a Premier League game. He would never start with that team. No chance. Okay? They were still a good team. They still tried to win, but that's not a team Pep would ever start as his Premier League starting team. And we're using that to now think we've turned a corner. It's the catalyst. Until we go on a 5, 6, 7 game winning streak in the Premier League, nothing's changed. We haven't turned any corners. We need to go on a 5, 6 game winning streak to say, right, now we've got momentum in the league. At the moment, win, lose, win, lose. We cover the cracks by looking at the European results in between, saying, oh, but we beat them in Europe. Fuck that. We're playing shit teams in Europe. In the Premier League this year, we are average. We are very, very average. And I don't think we've turned the corner until we win. If we beat Villa, we beat Ipswich, and then we win the next 2 or 3 games after the international break. Ian, I will come on with you and I'll say, Ian, we've turned the corner.
I hope so. I really hope so. We've got 2 home games, then we got Villa away. So we've got City away, 23rd, and then we've got Fulham at home. So, you're looking, hopefully, Sunday's going to be a tough game. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be. There's no reason why we can't beat them.
Do you think we can cope with Dragusin and Romero in centre back?
I think so.
Because I don't think. Because I don't. It's not nothing against Dragusin, but I don't think Romero is the right partner for him. I feel like Davis did a better job than Romero. And I don't rate Davis, just letting you know. I don't rate him.
Detrex, you know the problem is against Villa?
When he came on.
Detrex, the problem against Villa is this. If we go in there trying to play our way, the Ange ball, without Van der Ven making those recovery runs, you've got Ollie Watkins and you've got Duran that can punish us. And this is where we unravel. If we play more defensive, not saying be pragmatic the whole game, we can't do that because we need to score. If we be more defensive, drop deeper, game on. We've got home advantage. We can beat Villa. We can beat them, even without Van der Ven. Home advantage. Our record at home this year is good. We don't have an issue at home. On the road, we're abysmal. But without Van der Ven at home, in a high line, Villa's exactly the team, and Unai is the exact manager that will snuff that out, and they'll crush us. So for me, this whole game is on Ange's tactics. This whole game depends on Ange's tactics. If he drops us a bit deeper and we play our ball, we'll beat Villa. I'm telling you, we'll beat them. But, especially with some back. But if we go high line, push them back, that scares the hell out of me. And that's where I think either we lose or we draw. We lose or we draw.
Didn't we win 4-0 playing the Ange way? I know we had Van der Ven at the back, but we still won 4-0.
4-0? When?
Villa last season.
We beat them 4-0.
This is a different Villa team. They're well oiled now. They're a drilled team. They're beating top teams in Europe now, Detrex. They're beating top teams in Europe. They're against Arsenal. Ollie Watkins missed 2 sitters. Arsenal wouldn't have won that game. This is a different Aston Villa team, and they don't have any injuries. They rested a lot of players midweek as well. We played a lot of our starters. This is a game that is all down to tactics for me. If Ange tactically adapts, we will beat Villa. I'm telling you. If he doesn't, Unai Emery's going to do a number on us. And he's the kind of manager that will do it. This is Unai. He's a top manager. He will snuff it out.
A very underrated manager, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're going to call me crazy, but I'm not scared of their front line. It's more the midfield. I think they're going to do this.
Are you crazy?
No, I'm more scared of Onana and whoever they play in midfield. Because they're going to do the same thing as...
Tielemans is having a cracking season for them as well.
Tielemans
I think Detrex is right
Morgan,
there. I mean...
And Morgan Rogers.
They've got finishers, but that midfield they've got, I just think is solidly better than ours. You know what? You have mentioned something I was going to go to. I'll leave that till last, yeah? I mean, quick next one. Sar's goal was quality. The way he hit that and the way he curled that, I thought that was a lovely goal. Some people said that was just down to the goalkeeper, basically, the way he screwed it up.
No.
I don't think so. I think Sar hit that lovely and put it where he actually intended to put it. I don't think he just hit and hoped with that. It looked like he meant to do that, basically,
No,
instead of just having a crack.
he meant to do it because when he played at Metz in France, he used to score those goals on a regular basis. But at Spurs, I don't know why he doesn't take those shots. But I know he's more than capable of doing it, and I hope he continues. But it wasn't a lucky shot. It was a great strike, and he has a history of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has.
Same band, same everything. So it's a good shot. Like, I hope he continues.
I must admit, I thought I was impressed. I thought it was a good goal. So, last player I want to bring into this. I mean, I know there's plenty of others we can talk about before I go to my last point. Johnson. Where's my man gone? Where's he gone? Now, I've been wanting... Exactly. Now, I've been wanting to grill him for a long time. I've also been one over the past month or so to actually stick up for him a lot. Because, again, I will still say that a lot of players would have just totally folded under the pressure he had. And, yeah, okay, he stood up to it against average teams, but he still scored the goals. And now, all of a sudden, to me, it seems like he's disappeared again. And he still does a lot of score the goal and then he disappears for the game, but does it where it's mattered. And now I want to see that if he don't score for 5 games, 6 games, I want to see what he does then. Is he just going to go totally up into his shell again? Or do you think he's still going to have the same attitude of, do you know what, stuff it, I can score the next shot? Or do you think he's just going to totally evaporate again, basically, as soon as things ain't going his way?
Dan, he did nothing against West Ham. He did nothing against AZ Alkmaar. He did nothing away at Palace. He did nothing for me against Man City. Fair play. He gave that flick on to allow Kulu to make the run. You could say he did that. But in general, do you know what Johnson is? It's so obvious. If he doesn't score a goal, he offers nothing to this team.
I agree.
He offers nothing. His defensive attributes are shit. Quite often when attacks come down Porro's flank, it's because Johnson hasn't got out wide and given him the support he needs. Going forward in terms of crossing and assists, meh. But because he popped up with a couple of goals, mostly against bang average opposition, the exception being the Brentford goal, which I've praised for him time and time and time again. But that Brentford goal he scored is a one-off. That is nothing regular. It's far from what he's about. That was a one-off moment of really good play. Man, the Man United goal was a tap-in. I mean, I just feel he's a player that fans desperately want to get behind, desperately want to come good and be a brilliant football player. And because he wears a Spurs kit, they'll just defend him to the hills. But if you just take a step back, take your Spurs hat off and just look at it for what it is, he's an average football player at our club. When you think of attacking forwards, right? When you think of attacking forwards in a front three, you think of the best I think we've seen was Firmino, Salah, Mane. He doesn't come close to any of those players. Then you look at the level below, you probably think of maybe a Berbatov, Keane, Defoe. He doesn't come close to those levels. So for me, he's an average player that found a little purple patch with some goals, which most of them were nothing special. And everyone's just creamed their pants and got carried away. And everyone's like, yeah, he shut everyone up. He never shut me up. I said it whilst it was happening. I'm not impressed still. And he's back to type. Again, he's another one. He's not crap, but I don't think he's anything
not good.
He's
not even good.
Player.
I agree. He's average at best. The thing I'll give him credit for,
I think Maddison and Kulu this year have given us more than him. Yes, he's got the goals against these average teams, but for me,
as a winger, you got to do more than that. You got to be in the game more.
When you watch the player play, when you actually see him play as a footballer, I've seen Maddison and Kulu do more for this team this season. A lot more.
And that is one of the things that bugs me with Johnson, is he will turn up and score a goal here and there or an assist here and there. But even when he does, he disappears for the rest of the game. Or you might see him for 10 minutes of the game and he disappears. That is why I really don't rate the player. Whereas the only one who's got the right to do that is a striker, really. the striker can disappear for 90 minutes, but as long as when he gets the ball, he puts it in the back of the net, no one gives a shit. Same as a goalkeeper in that aspect. The rest of the players need to be on it. Go on, Detrex.
Yeah, I'm not trying just to argue, the sake of arguing, but honestly, me, I always say with Brandon Johnson, if he scores or assists, I will not complain about him, even though I still don't rate him. But the one thing I have an issue with him is just the basics of football. He doesn't do them right. If you look at the way he took his touch against Man City and took a shot after, why do you always put the ball on the far right to drag it on the far left? He always overcomplicates because he doesn't have technical ability, and that's his problem. He needs to focus on just the basics, which is touches and running with the ball. Even like everyone was saying he had like bursts of space, not pace when we bought him. I've never seen the pace. I never seen him run like the way like Udogi runs, for example, or Kulusevski when he picks up pace.
Or even Werner.
Or even Werner. I don't see it.
It's true. I agree.
Like even with the ball, I'm not saying like even off the ball. I don't see the. He always runs like he has diarrhea. I'm being honest. I don't rate the guy, and I hope we sell him.
Maybe it's just the way he looks when he runs. I don't know. I've seen other
No, but like even the way he runs,
weird.
even the way he runs, he looks lazy. And I hope we sell him. Like I don't see anything about him, and even the goals when everyone was saying he silenced his critics. I think it was just a purple.
Nothing.
He silenced nothing, and I'm seeing the same issues with him and Solanke. Both are not good enough to challenge or even challenge for top 4. The bare minimum.
Who out of our squad is good enough to challenge for top 6, let alone top 4? That's what I was saying earlier about the Man City team we played. 5, 6, 7 of them would walk into our first team.
No, we have like for top 6 or top 4 even, but the front line, none of them will make it for the top 4.
Who do we have that would actually get into that top 4 team?
Well, Vicario's good enough. Poro's good enough. Romero's good enough. Van de Ven's good enough.
Who does Vicario get in front of? He don't get in front of the Aston Villa keeper for sure. He don't get in front of Raya. He don't get in front of Ellison or Allison or Ed.
I think he's
Man City keeper. He don't get in
better
front
than
of
Chelsea. He's better than Chelsea.
Okay. Yeah.
He's better than Brighton.
With that one.
I think he's better than Martinez. That's just a personal. It's not a fact. It's just my personal opinion.
I don't know. I think Martinez is a very good goalkeeper who came to life at a late age, sort of thing.
I think it's more like shot stopping. I would take Vicario any day of the week, but all around, Martinez is better.
Yeah, but as a shot stopper, I think Vicario's in the
I think
top
he's
3.
even better than Raya. Shot stopping, that's just...
Yeah, I agree.
It's just
he's
an
better
opinion.
than Raya at shot stopping. It's just Raya's more of a complete keeper.
Even Ederson, he's a better goalkeeper than him. It's just he's not good on the ball.
It's like you can say with a... Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, sorry.
It's like you can say with 2 strikers, put Kane and Haaland next to each other. For me, Kane is the better player all day long, every day of the week. Exactly. He's more capable in nearly every which way. But if you want to come at someone just charging with a ball to put it in the back of the net, Haaland walks all over anybody and everybody. But you want to talk about a more complete player, Harry Kane all day long. Vicario, excellent shot stopper. I only think there's 2 possibly in the Premiership actually better than him at shot stopping. But the rest of his game, at times, leaves a lot to be desired. And I think he's a good goalkeeper overall. But I still think what he's poor at definitely damages big time what he's good at. Because at times he still comes out flappy as anything to catch that ball and whatever. He did. Hang on a second. Hang on. One other point I want to make quick. He done something in that Man City game that I thought, yes, good.
His distribution.
His distribution was better. But the other point is, two Man City players sort of like half bundled in front of him a bit. He just got the Man City player and just pushed him out of the way. Get out my fucking face. That is one thing that he's been lacking on big time. And with that, let's hope he sticks to that, because we've all been saying he needs to be actually more physically aggressive towards other players. I mean, a keeper can get away with a hell of a lot. And I don't think I've actually seen him do it like that in a game before, where he literally pushed the player out of his face.
Like I said, for me, he's the 3rd best goalkeeper in the league.
Quite possibly.
Number 1, it's Alisson. 2, it's Raya, and he's 3rd. I'm not basing off on stuff. It's just my opinion. I don't think there's better goalkeepers.
Fair enough. I wouldn't say complete goalkeeper. I wouldn't say better, but I'd say
No, complete.
yeah.
I think he has good distribution. It's no, he really improved this year. The only thing that I still have a worry with him is the flapping. But other than that, he improved.
I think I've got to go with that as well. I think for shot stopping, don't think there's anyone better. There might be one or two on a par, but I don't think there's anyone better than him for shot stopping. I think he's phenomenal. Brilliant shot stopper.
He is a great shot stopper. Right. Before I go to the last bit, then, just to answer a question here that I've left on here for a while. Dan, what does strained hamstring mean, and how long do you think VDB will be out for? If Romero is out, then are you comfortable with Davis and Drogo next to each other? I can't say I will be comfortable with that, mate, but only time will tell. But strained hamstring, as far as I know, is basically just the same as pulling a muscle slightly. It's where you've give it a bruise, is how I would see it. And then you can tear your hamstring, which can be anything from a centimetre to a couple of inches to an inch. And then you can actually rip the hamstring and then you're completely fucked. I mean, that is about the right way to put it, isn't it?
Pretty much. But
I think he
pulled
only out
hamstring.
for
I think you'll find Romero's playing Sunday. I think Ange pulled him off. He had fatigue. He was left out of the Argentina second game in the World Cup qualifiers. He was suspended for the first. He was left out for the second because he's tired. He had 2 weeks off during the summer only. He came back. He should have been taken out the firing line and brought back for Everton. He didn't. Ange should have given him an extra week off and played Dragerson at the King Power first game. He didn't. He pulled him straight back in. The guys had no real rest, and you're seeing what's happening now. And Argentina left him out. Ange pulled him off after 48 minutes on Wednesday because he's fatigued. I think he'll play on Sunday. I think he'll leave him out in Turkey, and just it all depends how he is, whether he plays them against Ipswich. But the guy needs a rest. There's no question about it. He's playing in the red zone.
No, the stupidism for me. The stupidest decision Ange made was letting Ashley Phillips go on loan.
Yeah, there's that as well.
We need him. We need him. And
If that goes back to the thing, Detrex, is if we're playing this youth project and that, why does that happen? But right, got one question here, and there's one point I'll make, and then I've got to call it quits. I've already gone well over an hour and 20 minutes more than I was meant to. Fuller panel, I'll be interested to know what players do you think can develop into better players under Ange or a different manager? I think that's a hard question to argue. I think that's an impossible one to answer, because there's certain managers out there who could probably pull better off of some of these players and some who couldn't. So you can say that about any player except Werner, most probably, because I just think you could put God there and he would still struggle to get something out of him. And put Jesus there, put whoever you want there, yeah, and they're still going to struggle to get anything out of Werner. I mean, I don't know, was it a genie the other night? Who knows? He probably wished for something and he got it.
I think our young players, Dan, I think our young players, a better manager will develop them far better. I think if we had Pochettino at the club, I think Archie Grays, Bergvalls, Moores, Lancashires, I think they've got a better crack in terms of how they would be taught, the coaching side of it. I think Poch is a good teacher of the game. I think as a one-to-one coach, I think Poch was very good. I also feel that
he is
a better manager, a different manager, if you want to call it that, certainly teaches our defence how to defence as an organised unit when we've got the overload and when we're outnumbered in different scenarios of the game, whether we are in the transition, defending the transition high up, low block, mid block. I think another manager definitely stamps his coaching identity on this team in a different way. Some players might not benefit from it. I think others will. I think definitely the youngsters would benefit more in terms of not game time, but the coaching, the way they're coached to play, the way they're developed as individuals. I think also there's a couple of players in this team I don't think we're getting the maximum out of right now. Do you know what? I would have loved to have seen Romero with Pochettino, you know. Romero with Pochettino.
That's what I was about to say.
That would have been a great combination.
Him and Van der Ven.
Yeah.
Even Poro on the Poch would be world class.
I don't know about that much, but it'd be
he would honestly be world class. He would be playing his better position and overlapping fullback.
Even
I mean, if you
Dragusin
really think
Dragusin under
that
Poch
back,
would have been decent.
we've said this about many a time with other managers and that. When it comes to the defensive side, there is a lot of managers. Well, I'd say there's definitely a few managers that could go there and really make that defense tick. Because for player, it ain't a shit defense. So it's just an awkward one to say of who could improve who and whatever else. But I think you made a perfect point there with Pochettino with just sorting out that defense basically, because that would have worked his way so much better. So that is the last bit I'll go to. With that game as a whole, some are saying we adapted to it because we went more defensive. And I think we looked better the way we played then than we did just going gung-ho attack. I think we actually looked a bit more complete as a team. But here's the question. Was that actually that Ange adapted, like a lot of people want to believe and have believed? Or is it just the fact that we went for the game and City really gave us no option but to play that way?
Dan, we have been complaining, haven't we, constantly about the high line.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who we play, he plays a high line. Could have played a high line against City. Could have quite easily done that. I mean, who was it the other week? We played somebody at Brighton, wasn't it? And the pundits before the match were talking about both Tottenham and Brighton play a high line. You've got literally 15 yards either side of the halfway line, with all the players congested. City played a high line as well. I think the fact that I think he set him up correctly. I really do. For the first time since Ange has joined, I think he set the team up the right way. We were deeper, and he invited teams up. He invited City on, and look at the space behind that Kulu found for the first goal. And you know, and you look at the breaks. You know, the one thing about Werner, and we won't go into. We discussed him enough, but he found the space behind the high line, and he made the chances for himself, and that was also helped by the fact that we were playing deeper. So you draw City on a bit more, and then you push, and then you go, and you break. And I think if Ange plays that way again on Sunday, and I think he's got to, because he hasn't got Mickey playing there. So he hasn't got anybody with that electric pace to get back and cover those balls over the top. If he plays properly, and he plays a proper system, and he plays a proper mid-block, should I say, then I think we've got a good chance. You know, if you play a very high line, your halfway line, balls over the top, that leaves Vicario in no man's land. But if you play a low block, you put a ball that's hit too far, Vicario will get that, and that, you know, that'll be a factor as well. So
we have had games though where it's only been them, and he has pushed it up to the halfway line. Look at that one against, was it Newcastle, where it blatantly showed that Van der Ven weren't on it? Was it Newcastle where Dragusin had to spin round for it? Yeah.
No, Dragusin and Romero. I don't think Mickey didn't play, did he?
No, that's what I'm saying. Where it was Dragusin on the pitch, and it was the same old story of the ball coming over, and Dragusin just couldn't turn and run for it. Basically, was one of the reasons. So he's already shown that he don't do that.
I hope he's turned the corner, Dan. I hope it's finally
I've
clicked.
said this about 4 games, mate. I've said this over about 3 or 4 games. So was it hope, or was it that he actually adapted?
I think he adapted.
Actually adapt?
I think he adapted. I think the way he played several players closed down. You know, we were chasing a lot of the time. We didn't have a lot of the ball, but I think the whole thing was better. The whole thing looked balanced. It didn't look chaos, did it? It didn't look chaotic. You know, normally you look at Tottenham and the style of play, and you say, "What do you think of that style of play?" You just say it's chaos. There's nothing sensible. There's nothing calm or measured about the way we normally play. You know, it's one way. It doesn't change to. There's no in-game management where you've got to change. You've got to adapt. Like Brighton should have come out, played a low block, seen out the first 15 minutes, got over. You know, everybody knew Brighton were going to come flying out the blocks. They're 2 down at home. They were poor. We were very good. Manager's gone in there. He's given them an absolute rocket. Get out there. Spurs should have known that, played accordingly. He didn't. He just kept the high line up. And we saw the result.
So with that and everything, Do you think he's actually adapted now and seen it? I mean, we've asked this question how many times now, and this is why I'm not Ange in yet, but I've sort of changed my opinion in the aspect of, do you know what, I couldn't give a fuck about the league anymore. Just win me a cup and I'll shut up.
Sure. No, but Wednesday night he adapted. Let's see what happens on Sunday.
That's going to be when it shows, because we all the time, all season, and a lot of last season, it seemed to be 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, let alone 3, wasn't it? I mean, Stel, what do you think? Do you think he actually adapted and meant it to go like that? Or do you think it was just the way the game went and there was no other option? That the players had to basically play like that because City put it on us that much? Or do you think that was Ange's intention and to counter it? Because I think it proved again, I think we look more dangerous as a fucking counter-attacking team than an attacking team. But what would we know?
I think that's just the way the game went. If Man City pinned most teams back. I mean, they pinned Arsenal back for quite a lot of time at the Etihad. I just think that's the way the game went, and we naturally dropped back because City recycled the ball really well. They're happy to keep possession and look to kind of thread it through the gaps or get it out wide and get a ball in. I don't think he adapted. I think we just naturally fell into that way of playing because of Man City. I've seen Man City do it to many a team. I do think we're better at transitional football, though. Yeah, 100%. We're a much better counter-attacking team.
Yeah,
but teams need to. But teams need to give you that space to do it. The way City play is perfect for the way we want to play as well, though, right?
Well, that's why they've always hated playing us, isn't it? Because we were always playing counter-attacking football, and that is one way, as far as I'm concerned. That if you're going to get City in any which way, it is going to be on a counter-attack, isn't it? 9 times out of 10, it's very rare you get City because you put the bloody pressure on them. That's how I see it with them. I mean, Detrex, what do you think? Do you think that was Ange adapted and he meant to do that, or do you think it was how the game went, basically?
I'll say he, for the first time, he actually adapted. Like, we didn't play that much of a high line. We played like a semi-high line. He saw when we lost Dragusin and Romero, he actually adapted. We play more like counter-attacking football transition. So, I'm not gonna knock the guy, but yeah, it's both. Like, the circumstances made him change, but the first time, he was proactive, so I'm gonna give him his flowers.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I think it was a bit 50-50. I think he had an idea of 1 or 2 things. He was still using fucking inverted wing backs to well over what they should do. I think that's why actually Archie Gray actually got caught out significant amount of times in the first half, because a lot of the time he was actually sitting in the middle quite a lot as well. This is why I just don't dig this inverted wing backs crap. But I suppose each their own. So on the last one there, we got Villa coming up for the next game. What do you reckon on the result?
I'm going 2-2.
Fair enough.
It'll be a cracking game, and I think it'll be 2 apiece.
You two?
Do you want me to go first?
Whoever.
I'm gonna regret it.
Still thinking.
Yes, of course. With that big brain, he's still thinking. What a surprise!
At least I don't hide behind a camera.
No, I'm gonna regret it, but I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna regret it, but it's gonna be. I think we're gonna win 2-1.
Okay. I mean, I thought we'd do that against Palace personally, but totally fucked that one up.
No, I think we're gonna win. But if Werner starts, we're gonna lose. But hopefully Werner doesn't play. But if he doesn't play, we're gonna win 2-1.
Well, there's always hope, isn't there? I mean, Stel, what do you think on the result then? You've had time. No excuses.
My gut says we're going to beat them, but my brain says shut the fuck up. I don't think he'll be a draw. I think there's a winner. It will depend on the tactics, Dan. I don't know what Ange is going to do. If he plays the high line,
inconsistent, isn't he? He's too inconsistent as a manager, isn't he? That's why I just ain't got no faith in him.
Do you know what? I'll just play it safe and say 2-2. But I don't believe that.
I think
Fuck
they've
it,
got a
Spurs
very
2-1.
underrated
Spurs
manager.
2-1. Spurs to win 2-1.
So it took you all this time just to copy my score result.
Well, he's allowed to have the same score result. I mean,
But
because with that one,
you can't talk to people without a brain. Just let him think what he wants. Let him think.
What do you reckon, Dan?
I'm very 50-50 with it. I could blatantly see a 2-2, blatantly. I could easily see a 3-1 to them, but I could also see a bloody 2-1 to us. It's one of those ones where I'm proper stuck on it as such, because I think it's another one of those games. You're right, Brian. It's another one of those games where for me, it could go any which way. It could go very much in our favour, but it could go very much against us, and then it could also be both teams cancelling each other out. I think Villa have got the better team, hands down, overall. I think they're stronger in midfield. I think they're stronger up front, and I think they're more stable in goal. Defence, stability, I think with them that comes down to more the way they play than if you want to go player for player. So with me, I'm going to go more the safe one on this. I'm going to look at 2-2 as well, because I could just see it going any which way. And that, I think, is a problem at Spurs at the moment. I think you could look at pretty much any game and say it could go pretty much any which way. There's just no stability there. There's no consistency there in any means or manner. I mean, the 6 games we got on the trot, for me, that was not consistency. 4 of those games, we should have fucking walked it. Old Trafford, always a good result if you get it there. It doesn't matter who you're playing against, as far as I'm concerned. Old Trafford ain't easy.
Dan?
And then... Go on.
I've changed my mind. We're not gonna win. There's no Van der Ven. I can't. 2-2. I agree with Ian. 2-2. Sorry. Without Van der Ven, I think that's a big problem for me. It's a big problem.
Well, that's when we see if Ange adapts it, because that's when he's got to. That is when he has got to adapt it.
I predict we will draw 2-2 or 1-1, whatever, score draw, and then Spurs will be either 10th or 11th after 10 games.
I think that's a fair enough one, personally. I mean, what does anyone else think? I mean, Brian's saying 3-3. We've got Mark Smith saying 2-2. What does anyone else think on this quickly before I finish this? I do see it being a 2-2 game.
What have Villa been like on the road this season? What have they been like on the road? Let's have a look.
They've had their moments, didn't they? But I think Villa have looked. Go on, Detrex.
No, just I don't want to see Son start. I want to see him coming off the bench. If he comes off the bench, we're gonna win this game. But if he starts, no.
Right,
I want to see.
So go on, Detrex.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No.
No, just say I want to see Mikey Moore start and Son coming off the bench. And if that happens, we're gonna win the game easily, 2-1.
So far this season,
beat West Ham, beat Leicester. Only drew at Ipswich 2-2.
Ipswich at home are a difficult team, Ian. They
drew against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth at home. They beat Fulham away. Fulham's a good team as well this year.
Yeah.
This could. Do you know what? It's got draw written all over it, hasn't it? It's got draw written all over it.
No,
it has.
We're not gonna draw. So. I can put a bet we're not gonna draw.
What we can't do is lose, though. If we lose,
I hope we lose.
Why?
Why?
No. I know you're gonna call me, but it's just for the bigger picture. If we lose, Ange is gonna get the sack.
He's not going to get the sack, Detrex.
Yeah,
Ange's here for the season. Let me tell you.
No,
can I
he's
ask you a
not.
question? No. This is a good talking point. If all the results go against us and Spurs are 14th on Monday morning after 10 games, you don't think he's in big trouble of getting the sack?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
he's been backed. He's been backed more than any other manager still. I think
isn't that more reason than not to back him any further and just get rid of him and bring a manager that can get a tune out of them? Is that not how this club thinks?
Exactly.
No, I think Levy's possibly seen the fact that this manager merry-go-round cannot keep going. It's unsustainable. It's going nowhere.
For the money.
Yeah, but Ian, if he loses this game, I don't think that's his way. He's on his way out, basically. But again, The problem is with the games we got at the moment is all we need is one win and all of a sudden things look good. And then all we need is one loss, and all of a sudden we look in absolute dog shit trouble, basically. I still think that when it's really going to show for Ange is over the Christmas period where the games pile on and we got some very hard games and there's a lot of games and the injuries will come on and everything. This is where I think you see whether Ange will lose it or not. Because I'm still a firm believer in Levy in the aspect of 25 years of history now, say, that when it comes to round about at Christmas time, if the team ain't close or standing a chance of getting that Champions League football to get the money in, usually it's baked potato, mate. See you later. And that's what 25 years of history says.
If we lose, right, we will be 9 points off of...
Eight off Villa, isn't it? It'll be 8 off Villa, I think.
Right? We will be closer to relegation than top spot. Right, and I'm talking bottom of the league. Hold on, bottom of the league? No, relegation slots. Yeah, closer to relegation than top spot. We will have the worst start in the history of any manager in the Premier League at Spurs. And we will be below, potentially, United, West Ham, who we both beat,
Forest.
Newcastle, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford, Forest. Right, this is worst case scenario, worst case, right? If we win, however, like Dan said, goes either way. If we win, we could be top 6 in the Europa Cup slots, only 2 points off top 4. If we draw, we probably sink 1 or 2 places to 10th. So really, if you look at it, the only result that doesn't make this look ugly is a win. A draw or a loss, it looks very, very ugly. We have to win. If he's going to have a chance. If he doesn't win, I think he's in trouble.
It does. Just one game chops and changes it so much at the moment of where he's just such an inconsistent manager, and this is where I don't rate him. But I have said from day one, do I think he's got the capability of winning us a cup? Yes, I do, because you can get so far in a cup with luck as well as playing a good game. And I'm just at that point now where I'm like, just win me something and I'll shut up and I'll be fucking happy.
I think as well, any fan who thinks Ange can't be sacked this season is completely delusional, and they never learn. If we lose the next 3-4 games in the Premier League, Ange is gone.
Levy is Levy.
Any chairman, right? The business.
Who's he bringing? Stel, who do you replace him with at the moment?
Xavi's available.
I don't know. That's my answer. I actually don't know. But my point is,
that's a different debate.
Every chairman will protect their business before they protect anything else. And if you look at the business of Spurs, the business of Spurs is you've got to get at least top 6. You've got to get Champions League. We need the money for the debt for the stadium, to keep the stakeholders on board, to justify the price rises to the customers. So to keep the business functioning, you need to get really top 4, minimum Europa Cup. For another club, like let's say Nottingham Forest or Sheffield United, these kind of teams, their chairman needs to keep them in the Premier League. That's their business. So the business is different. If we lose the next 3-4 games, the business model of Spurs is in jeopardy now. Levy will change it, 100%. Anyone who thinks differently hasn't got a fucking clue what they're talking about. You just don't get it. That's Levy. But do I think we're going to lose to Villa and Ipswich? No, I don't. I don't think we will.
Because that is why Levy is such a good chairman on the business side. Because a businessman, as far as I know how a proper businessman works, at the end of the year, when they put their money together, what they could have made, okay, we might have 20 million profit. Great. But if we could have got 50 million profit, Levy will look on that as a failure, because that's what a real businessman does. Same as I say with a proper top-class manager. They want to win anything they play in. Some might not be as important, but they still want to win everything. Levy is an out-and-out businessman. If he could have made 50 million that year and he only made 20, I say only made 20 million, as far as he's concerned, he's had a failure of a season. He don't give a fuck about the football. He just wants that money on the Champions League. And if he can see that it ain't going right with Ange, definitely, And if he seriously thinks that he can get rid of him, get another manager in like he did with Conte, who can literally scrape us by the skin of his teeth up to top 4, he will do it. He's done it for 25 years. There is nothing that I fear. This man, he's so far in his habit. I don't care how long you put this prick in rehab, he ain't changing.
I think while Spurs are in the Europa League, where the trophy guarantees you Champions League, I think Ange will hang around. Unless the form just knows.
That is a fair point. If
the form nosedives and we're in bottom 5, then yes, I think he will move. But I don't see that happening. I see we've got Villa, Ipswich, forget City. I think we'll lose there in 3 weeks' time. But Villa, we can get a result. I think it'll be a draw. I think we'll beat Ipswich. I think we'll beat Fulham. I think we'll get 7 out of the next 12.
Do you know what? There's a lot of people in the comments saying Ange won't get sacked. Ange won't get sacked. That all depends on where he keeps us. It all depends on where Spurs maintain. If we are knocking on the door of Europa Cup or above, of course he'll keep him. There's no doubt. But like I said, if we drop into that mid-table and below and we keep going there, he will 100% get rid of him. There's no way Levy will tolerate that. He cannot have Spurs not in Europe. You can't justify that. For the business model that we are now in is dependent on us having European football minimum. Where's he going to get the extra gate receipts? They're
sold out for Christmas still. They're completely sold out.
Let me point something out to people. Follow the money. Always follow the money. If you follow the money, you'll always understand. Look at Spurs this season. We played a Europa Cup game. He couldn't sell it out. So what does he do the next game? He puts the prices up by £5. Right. Then there's 9,000 empty seats for that game. So what's he doing now? Roma. It's a Category C game. So you're looking at 45, 60, 70 pound a ticket. Do you think he's going to sell that out? Do you think he's going to sell that out? Is he fuck? The fact he's manipulating price proves he's desperate for the cash. So if Spurs are in a position where they're not even going to get Europe, which means all these midweek games don't happen, that cash doesn't come in. He will change the manager in hope to get that European money back by getting a manager that can get us back into the top 6. Every decision Levy makes is about the bottom line. There's no project. There's no plan. It's about the bottom line above everything else. The football is secondary, third in his line of thinking. So I did say if we lose 3-4 on the bounce, Villa being the first one, well, Palace the first one, then Villa, then Ipswich, and the one after that, Ange is gone. He will sack him because the business and his stakeholders, the shareholders, the board of directors are his priority.
Because he does not fuck about when it comes to money. He's an out-and-out businessman, and that's half the problem.
Forget about the shareholders. It's not about the shareholders, believe me. It's all about him.
Well, not you, but other shareholders. Not you.
Either way, it's about the money at the end of the day. And if it's all going right on the money, Levy could not give a fuck, mate. As long as it's going right on the money side.
Correct, Dan. If he's got 60,000 week in, week out, club shop is rammed, food and drink is rammed.
He's not changing.
They stay behind the fans stay behind the game in the big bars in the South Stand for an hour and a half every match. Yeah. It's 6 million every game.
I mean,
United will be Category A. I'll be paying £109 for my ticket.
If he loses 4 in a row, right? If he loses 4 in a row, he's not going to have all them people staying behind.
They won't lose 4 in a row. They won't.
Don't bet on it.
They won't lose to Ipswich, believe me. They will not lose to Ipswich.
Do not. Yeah, same as we shouldn't have lost to Palace.
Let's say we draw to Ipswich.
Say we shouldn't have lost to Palace, who hadn't won a game yet.
Correct.
I don't know. He has given Ange 105 million for Solanke and Johnson. Think about that. Think about the money that he is used to spending and giving managers.
You gave Conte
105.
£65 million for a Charlison.
No,
Bye-bye.
57 for Solanke. The rest were add-ons. Forget the add-ons. 57 for Solanke, 47.5 for Johnson, 105 million for
So
them.
what? So what? So what?
He had Ange wants this one. Levy gives him the money. Ange wants Johnson. It doesn't matter that Brentford had offered 35 and it was agreed. Forest then want 47.5. That is so un-Levy-like to go and spend another 12.5 million more on a player. You're not talking about top quality. You're talking about a player who's done well for Notts Forest.
Who says he'll even bring a player into it if he sacks the manager? Because probably the thing I think he'll do is leave it to the end of January and then fucking sack him so you don't have to buy no one and get someone who can scrimp and scrape us there.
If he's in the bottom 5 still, he'll get rid of him. No question about it. But we won't be there. We're going to be around mid-table, 6th to 10th the whole season. I'm telling you.
It doesn't matter what players have come in, because in Levy's head, another manager gets a better tune out of those players. Another manager doesn't have Spurs with these players in 12th, in 13th. Another manager has Spurs with these players in 6th. In Levy's head, whether Levy's right or wrong doesn't matter. That's what he's shown us. He'll do it again. The Kiwi Spurs is saying isn't ticket revenue only 10 to 20% of the club's revenue, right? If you're not in Europe,
20% when you're talking about millions is a lot.
120 million over 540. It's 2 over 9. It's about 22%.
Okay, you're not listening to what I'm saying, Kiwi Spurs. You're looking for an argument. You're looking for an angle to debunk it. If we don't get Europe, the TV broadcasting money drops because we are not being broadcasted for the European games. Champions League money, we made millions because the money from the broadcasters and the competition gives us more than anything else on a match day, right? Well, maybe in line with match day receipts, but if you're not in Europe, it's not just ticket money you lose, it's the ability to sell food and beverage to fans who no longer are coming to games because you're not in those European games. The club shop can't sell merchandise because there's no match day. You're not in Europe. The TV money doesn't come in as much because you're not being broadcast in that competition. It's not just the ticket sales. Everything takes a hit across the board. We must get Europe. And if we don't get Europe, the business model is in trouble. This stadium is dependent on European football, man. Like it's part of the equation. Even if we get Conference League, we're in trouble, guys. That competition doesn't earn fuck all. Maybe it's a bit better than nothing. If we're not Europa Cup or above, the business model is in jeopardy, and Levy will pull the trigger. He has no choice. He can't justify it. He doesn't have a choice.
He's always done it. He has always done it.
This is the position he's put the club in.
Yeah. No, listen, I disagree with that.
And the fella's just said he gets you. He's just said he gets you. So fair play, Kiwi, as well for listening, mate.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing I'll say in here then, because I've got to go, is Danilis, thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated. And everyone, do go sign up to his channel. The fella does make sense when he talks. And London Boyle, new member, thank you. And one thing I want to say here, Tom81. I'm
Big
not
up,
even
Tom.
going to debate this, mate.
Yeah.
This.
Is Dan frozen? Yeah, I think, yeah. Listen, Tom, big up to you, man.
Wednesday night. Tottenham.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Tottenham's best performance was according to a Spurs fan. Very iconic, as it was like watching Conte's Tottenham against Ange. And it was.
Great point. Great point.
It is. Yeah. It is. That's why I've saved it on there, because I, along with a few others, it took others a bit of time to see it. That team has got counter-attacking written all over it, and I think it would be quite deadly on a counter-attack. Yes, still rooms for significant improvement, but I think we would see a significant improvement on results as a whole. But that is what I'll leave it at, because I've already gone nearly 2 hours of what I was meant to. And Stel, my wife, say that's your fault, so it's not mine. Ian, we're going to see you anywhere soon.
Don't they get any blame? Why don't Ian and Detrex get any blame?
No, they don't talk as much as you. Well, I don't know. Ian gives you a run for your money. I'll give him that.
I'm I'm, I'm on Savage Show Sunday night at 7:30. You're doing one 9 o'clock, are you, Stel? After the match?
Tonight?
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday night. Yeah.
I'll join you then as well. So I've got a nice Sunday on the podcast.
As long as we win.
Detrex.
So we're happy. Let's say we're happy.
Me, I'll try to go on Sunday night, but I hope the conversation Archie Gray comes back, him and Salva, on Sunday. It will be hilarious. I'll watch the show just because of that.
Listen, I promise you, we will not talk about Archie Gray on Sunday. If any way anyone finds a way to bring it up, I'm going to knock it on the head because I personally can't do the chat anymore. Let's do
What
it
if he starts the game? What if he starts the game still?
He probably won't even be
I'll tell JB. I'll ask JP if he can host the show. I need a break.
No, but if I send a super chat, you have to respect the chat. If I ask Ian, what's your thoughts on Archie Gray?
Yes, still.
You have to.
No, I'll just send the money back.
That's
I'll send the
bitchy,
money back.
mate. That's
I'll send the money
nasty.
back. I'll send the money back.
Yeah, because he can see it's you and just say bollocks. But either way, I'll be doing another show sooner or later. You know how erratic I am with things. Chances are I'll catch up with Stel and the others on Sunday, so make sure you're there for them on Tottenham away. Make sure, like I said, you sign up to Dan List, and it should be an interesting one on Sunday also with Ian and Sava. I think I'll be watching that with a bit of fucking popcorn for sure. I think I'll even get a beer out for that one because that will be interesting. But everyone, thanks for watching. Thank you a lot for coming on, and let's hope that Ange has adapted and we can get something out of Villa. Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend. See you later.
I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down.